Well, here we are again, everybody, in the YouTube universe. The dangerous place, worse than the Twilight Zone, from what I hear. More dangerous than the Twilight Zone. And we have our cast of characters, and Chuck's kind enough to join with us tonight. So it's great to see Chuck. And we got Mr. Stewart, who has been in his glory doing Aurora Borealis shooting. And don't pinch him. He may jump 10 feet in the air. He's very excitable right now. We have Roy, who is up in his man cave area. And we have Gustavo, who has that studious, serious look on his face, like he's taking notes and jotting down every word I say, which is not usually a good thing to do. But we'll, once we get like 20 people in here, we'll start going with the flow of the show. And as usual, we will look and see who is in here and joining us right off the bat. We have Albert. So Albert, great to see you. I hope you've made some more adapters for 50 other lenses that nobody's used in 25, 50 years. And that you could share with us again sometime. We always enjoy that show and tell that you do. And Bob from Bob Our Photos is in the house, and Robert Varner. And let's see who else is in here. Gray Matheson's here. And we're going to wait for some more folks to show up. And we will talk about a variety of subjects tonight, everything from, some new Nikon ambassadors that got announced, and the 50 millimeter f1.4 lens that snuck out to everybody's surprise, I think. And then we'll talk about an interview that someone high up in Nikon had that just got published in an article on Nikon Rumors. I took some excerpts out of that interview to share with everybody because I think you'll find it interesting, and hopefully you'll go back to Nikon Rumors and read the full article. I'm not going to read it top to bottom, just a few points. We got Luke is here now, and then there are a lot of other things going on with other brands other than Nikon, which is fine. Competition is good. It keeps everybody on their toes, makes everybody want to, as the old saying is in business environments or manufacturing, is that term continuous improvement. So you're not going to be driven to continuously improve if you don't have competition. So Mookie MC is in here, and yeah, he's right. Variety is the spice of life. Sanjit's in here. He says, "Good morning, everybody." Chuck, he missed you last week. Chuck's always here in spirit. Okay, or we would not be here. None of us. Okay, so we're only here because of everything that Chuck did for years and years and years. And
it's not true.
Oh yes, it is. You think I'd be doing this if I didn't have the utmost enjoyment and respect for our time over the years? I mean, I'd be taking a bath right now.
All right.
You own it, Chuck. You own it, whether you like it or not. You own it.
Whether we're good or bad, or the good, the bad, and the ugly, we're gonna throw it all on you.
Right.
Yeah, because Jeff was only going to do this for 6 shows.
Yeah, and it's 10 times that now.
Yeah. Yeah.
A funny thing happened on my way to the live stream. But we got 21 people in here, so I said we could get a little serious here, but joking around is fun as well. Hey, you got to have a good laugh. I'm going to put up a reminder. We got 9 images for next month's photo review already, so I will put in the reminder of when you have to get your pictures in. Get them in by October 4th. The photo review itself will be on October 5th. And obviously we're in some parts of the world, we have the fall season approaching. Feel free to share any images that you may have of some wonderful fall foliage that I so desperately miss not living in New England anymore. I really do. That's probably the only time of the year that I miss in New England versus being down south. Is I do miss the fall season a lot. I miss the fall, the fairs and the craft shows and the apple bobbing and the apple fritters and the fall foliage and the pumpkin carving and all that stuff. So I do miss that quite a bit. So if you have any fall pictures or Halloween funny Halloween pictures that maybe you captured, because our next photo review will be after Halloween, after the one on October 5th. So, send in whatever you got, but fall specific and Halloween is fine. And let's see. So if we got anybody on, Mike Farwell's in. And let's see, Z Wade. Hello, Z Wade. Z Wade, good to see you. I'm sure.
That time.
Chuck's in the house here too, so he hasn't seen you in a while, and you guys can share some sidebar information.
I think David's having an earthquake.
Yeah. So we're gonna start off with I think I'm not gonna go to the rumors right away. I'm just gonna kind of I won't call it a rant. I'll just call it. I'm gonna start off a discussion. I have to scroll down to where I have my notes, and so we're gonna start off the discussion with the newly announced Z 50 millimeter f1.4 lens. And obviously, with no lens roadmap anymore, anything that we get out of Nikon is going to be, for the most part, a surprise, because we can all guess we can all say what we would like them to come out with next, but we really don't know what they're going to come out with next. So they came out with the 51.4 full frame Z-mount lens. And it's not an S-series lens, which I'm sure everybody knows. And price point is just a tad under $500. It's going to motivate some folks, I'm sure, to pick one up to put in their kit. Now, I asked myself the question: would I buy this lens right now with the Z 50 millimeter f1.8 S lens on sale right now for only $30 more? My answer would be no. I would not buy it. I would spend the $30 and I'd get the f1.8 S series lens. But that's just me. Now, as we all know, the S series lenses, they've been really good for their price point. I mean, it really opens things up for people. It makes things affordable for people. So those on a budget or just starting out, or if you want a different look, because these lenses do produce, at least at wide open, a different look than you're going to get from a S series lens, which is typically sharp corner to corner, even when it's wide open. Okay, so the 1.4 lenses is kind of interesting. Are kind of being designed to have the same attributes that you had with F-mount glass. Okay, with an F-mount glass, when you were wide open with a lens, you had a sharp image in the center. You had softer around the edges, unless you stopped down one or two stops, and then it would be sharp corner to corner. And that seems to be what they're doing with these 1.4 lenses. Is you're getting that little extra, in this case, 2/3 of a stop more light gathering capability versus the 1.8, and you have that different look that you're going to get from it. And what's also interesting, what's kind of flipped around in the F-mount days, the 1.4 lenses were always more expensive than the 1.8 lenses, and now the 1.8 lenses are more expensive than the f1.4 lenses in the Z-mount. So everything is switching around.
I think the 1.4s are Tamrons, that's why.
Yeah. So I'm just, in general, throw out why everyone should have at least have a 50 millimeter lens in their bag, because some people may not even have a 50 millimeter lens in their bag. Now, I don't have a Z-mount 50. I mean, I have a F mount that I can use. It's a 50, and I have the 40 millimeter Z mount, but I don't have a 50 millimeter Z mount. But why you might want it is the, the viewing angle represents what is considered to be what a human being's normal perspective is when they're looking straight ahead. And so you can argue that whatever images you take with that lens, people can relate to it better because it is kind of like what they would see if they were looking at the same.
I think 40 is closer.
Yeah. Now, these lenses are usually lighter weight and great for travel, general use on smaller camera bodies as well. This is not a VR lens, so you're going to get your image stabilization, obviously, once you put it on the Z mount camera body, but you're not going to have that extra image stabilization with a VR lens. But that's not going to be an issue. I mean, if we want to make it one, I guess we could, but it's really not going to be an issue. Now, some of this is, their advertising jargon from the Nikon technical specs or their Nikon USA website. But the 1.4 aperture, it will allow you to work in more poorly lit areas when needed and separate your subject well from the background with some nice bokeh. And now what I disagree with in their advertising is they claim this particular lens, they advertise it as having sharp image quality across the frame, even wide open. That is not true. That is not a true statement. All the reviews that I've read from people that have reviewed this lens seem to indicate it has the behavior like the 35 1.4. The 35 1.4 is not sharp corner to corner when it's wide open, and neither is this, according to those that have used the lens. They say, of course, a 50 millimeter lens, your head and your face shots aren't distorted. They're rendered really good, even if you get close to the person taking the picture. It's good for video use. It's good for like Chuck and myself. Like if we're doing a live stream event, we're using our camera as the feed for our video of us. A 50 millimeter lens is a decent lens to use for that. It's not heavy. It's not a heavy lens, and it's not exceptionally long. So that's good in terms of putting it on a gimbal. If you want to use a gimbal, you're going to be able to balance it really easy. Because a lot of these gimbals, I mean, I got a pretty expensive gimbal on my shelf here, and believe me, you can't put long glass on that. I mean, you could put maybe you could put your 24 to 120 on it. You could put your 85, your 50s and stuff like that, or your wider lenses, but you're not going to go put a 400. You can't. You just can't put a 400 millimeter on a gimbal and not on one has motors on it that's going to work well. It's just not going to work. Now, focus breathing's minimized, so your angle of view isn't going to change if you do focus pulling with your video. And if you look at the MTF charts, Nikon Rumors shows all the MTF charts for all the 50 millimeter lenses that are in the Z mount lineup, and you can compare the MTF charts if you're into that type of thing. So you really have to ask yourself, if you're a potential buyer, is the 2/3 of a stop a big enough difference regarding either your bokeh when shot wide open, or is it really that much faster that you wouldn't get the shot using the 1.8 lens, or maybe you like the effect of the 1.4 being a little softer wide open in the corners and adding, as Mr. Z-Wade would say, adding character to the lens, because that's a famous word that everybody likes to use. I want a lens that has more character. I personally think we have more characters behind the lens, personally. So I'll just go through the specs real quick, and then I'll open it up for everybody to comment on what their feeling is. Okay, we know it has a stepper motor. It suppresses focus breathing. It can close focus up to 14.5 inches, which is pretty good. Has weather sealing for dust and drip resistance. It's 3.5 inches long, 3 inches in diameter, and it weighs 14.9 ounces. Aperture range is f1.4 to f16. Reproduction ratio is nothing to brag about. This is not going to be like something that you could use for close focusing flowers. It's only 0.17 times. You got 10 elements in 7 groups with one spherical element, 62 millimeter filter size. It supports linear manual focusing. And obviously, it's 50 millimeters on a full frame. It's 75 millimeter equivalent on a DX camera body. And they talk about it incorporating a multi-focus system that suppresses aberrations by moving multiple lens groups. And back in the 60s, as they define it, back in the late 60s, they had something called close range correction system. So in a nutshell, you're going to get superior correction in your aberrations and faster autofocus when you're at your maximum aperture with this lens. And for those who don't know what linear focus is, because not all the lenses will do it, it's something that you select when you go into manual focus through your menus. Linear focus mode, if you have that capability in your lens, allows your focusing ring on your lens to operate just like it did with the focusing rings on your old manual focus lenses. And then you could set the degree of focus, how much ring rotation that you want to use to go from minimum focus distance to infinity. You could set it for a 90-degree throw, and then you can go in 30-degree increments beyond that and more, and set it so how you want the focusing to react as you turn your lens. So not all the lenses will do that. By default, and Roy, you guys could correct me if I'm wrong. If you're not using linear focusing, basically, in I don't know about in all cases, but I know in some cases, you'll go from minimum to infinity pretty quick, depending on how fast you turn the focus ring.
But don't forget these are focused by wire.
Yeah, it's not as accurate. It's not as smooth, and it's not as precise.
And there's also a small delay.
Yeah. So you can decide which you like, and let's open this up for conversation. Why don't you guys start chiming in, and I'll look at the chat and see what people are talking about in there.
Well, for once, I think one thing to celebrate is that this is the 45 Z mount lens, correct? So in terms of the system, like the lineup, like Chuck used to say, it's very good to have a complete lineup. Okay? Now, the number of 50 millimeters baffles me. Why do we have to have so many? Correct? I am not a 50 millimeter, but the other thing is this is only the 3rd or 4th lens this year, correct? So we should still see 3 or more lenses by the end of the year if Nikon stick to the average, correct? Which is between 6 and 7. So the question, Roy, you think it's a Tamron lens?
I think it's going to be a Tamron lens. Okay. I haven't seen it myself yet, but I've heard some things about it. It's the characteristics seems very Tamron-ish.
And so that would be the 35. So that
and the 35 and the 50. I think they're both Tamrons.
Okay. So Nikon decided to keep the 1.2 and the 1.8 and gave that line to Tamron.
So have they said that? I mean, is that official?
No, it's not. Just they seem to be.
Yeah.
But there's nothing wrong with Tamron these days.
Well, I'm just saying that because probably 6 months or a year ago, when we were talking about, like we were at one time talking about, will Nikon even bother doing an f1.4 lenses? Or I know my opinion anyway at that time was they're going to give that to the Sigmas and the Tamrons to do, that they're not going to do it. But well, on paper they are, because they got their name on the lens. But like you said, we don't know if it's really their lens design or not. But it will be interesting to.
It looks very similar to the Tamron versions.
Joey wants to get in here, so I'm going to send him another email with the link to the show, so he can join us.
Okay. The other thing, Roy, that Jeffrey mentioned that those charts, right? And maybe I haven't done my homework, but I don't know what to make of those charts. So did anybody here know how to read? those charts?
Yeah, I got a whole notebook on how to read those charts.
Okay.
And
I know it's lazy on my part,
but the thing is with those charts is those charts are only representative of a lens, and just like in the old days, you could do that those charts on 5 lenses and have 5 different results. I mean, I'm not saying
It's not as bad
crazily
anymore.
different, but there is normal variation from lens to lens. Not like it used to be with the F-mount lenses. You can have big disparities in quality control or more so with those lenses. But the Z lenses are going to be much better in terms of being close to one another. But they're not all exact. And you look at those charts, you can't assume that your particular lens is going to be a direct match with what you're seeing in those
It's a
charts.
guide.
It's a guide. Yeah.
It's just they were. I mean, I like charts and I like data, but never spend the time paying too much attention to those charts.
Well, I mean, basically, the chart is trying to correlate. Let me get out of this email. I just sent the email to Joey. We'll see if he comes in. It's trying to show the lens's ability in a percentage in the in basically how the lens behaves from the center of the lens to the corners. Okay. And then so you have measurements that are going diagonally from the center to each corner, and then you have other areas that they measure where they're going in the other direction. They're not going,
I never looked those charts.
Yeah, it's so it's like the left hand side is contrast, and the right hand's the lower axis is your distance from the center of the lens to the corner. So all the numbers on the bottom is the distance from the center of the lens to the corner.
Okay.
And the up and down is your contrast in percent. So the best lenses are when the upper two lines are very close to each other and close to the very top of the graph.
And straight.
And as straight as possible. That is the best. That's what you want for your that's your contrast.
Okay.
So if it does one of these, it's straight and then it goes, that ain't so hot.
It needs Viagra.
And the colors, the blue and the red lines, and the dotted versus solid, different measurements. Or?
One is what they call, it's the different types of lines. They call them the tangible lines and the sagittal lines. So one's radial and one's tangent lines, and so that's why you have 2 different colors. Okay, and then you have two pairs of lines. So the upper pair, it has to do with contrast, and the lower pair has to do with resolution.
Look at that.
So you don't want it to go less than 0.6.
Okay.
I think we
below 0.6. Anything below 0.6 is average. Everything above 0.6 is better than average. Anything up near the top is exceptional.
All right.
So
thank you, Mr. Jeff.
So that's it in a nutshell. I have the notes in front of me because I knew you were going to ask that question tonight.
We didn't plan it. So, but we can see that Mr. Noah didn't care too much about that.
No.
No, it's not, like I said, it's just like it's another one of those things that people could get wrapped around the axle about and make a big deal about, and in the end it's like, how does your image look when you shoot that lens? Are you happy with it? And if you are, who gives a blankety blank about what the charts say? Because it's really what do you see when you take your image? That's what's important, right?
So, but anyway, later on, when it will be worthwhile, and I can look at it here and the charts that got published, right? Because they got side by side. So it was
Right.
interesting from that point of view.
Right. And you will see a big difference between the lines on the 1.4 versus the lines on the 1.8. There's a big difference.
Okay.
Now, what do you think overall with them continuing the 1.4? You know, I mean, what other 1.4s do you think they'll come out with?
ZY has a good explanation to.
Oh, Z-Wait's comment.
Yes.
There's a reason doctors look at your charts, then explain the important stuff because no one understands and they need to look important. Yeah.
Is Joey? Is he in there now?
No, he's in here. Wait, he's he's here, but he's not showing up because I got everybody too big, so I got to shrink everybody.
Okay.
So there's Joey.
Hey, Joey.
Hi guys.
It's nice to shrink down the Canadians a little bit.
So, Joe, how's life down in the south?
Sorry, David?
How is life down in the southern part of the province?
It's good. It's warm. Yeah, it's nice. How are things in the northern parts of the province?
Oh, it's just great up here. The aurora has been fantastic. Not much color, but I'm having problems with my 12 millimeter lens. It's too long. I need something shorter.
Gotta get the 2 millimeter f12. I'm kidding. No, but that's awesome.
Oh, well.
I have a wider lens.
I need a wider than a 12.
Than that.
Say again, Roy?
I think Lauer's got a wider lens than that.
Yeah, I'm. My 12 is f2.8. My 15 is f2, and they're both Laowa. Yeah, it's. I might have to.
So okay. How do you feel about those lenses? Are you Wawa for Laowa?
I'm not complaining about them at all. It's. But when we come up the next photo review, that's what half of my pictures will be. The Laowa.
Now, what were the price points of those particular lenses? They were both under 1,000, right?
They're 1,000 Canadian.
1,000 Canadian.
Yeah,
$10 American.
$10 American. Yeah.
Make it about 7 American. They're not cheap. They're nice lens. They're heavy. They're all metal.
And Joey, where's the? Are you allowed to be on here?
I know. I got a wife now or something crazy. Yeah, no, it's been good.
I was gonna be mean and ask you if you were still married.
No, it was good. Yeah, wedding was great. Yeah, it's been. Yeah, I guess it's been about 2.5, 3 weeks now of being married, and yeah, it's been a whirlwind for sure. But no, her and I are having a blast. It's just it's been fun. It's been fun for sure.
Good.
Happy to have her on my team forever.
So here's the question that those who may be in the chat that are not married, the question that comes up when somebody gets married, and people ask me this, and they say, "Do you feel any different now that you're married?" So do you feel different, Joey? You feel different?
I do actually. I didn't think I would because her and I are connected at the hip. We do everything together, and I'm blessed for that for sure. But afterwards, I kind of woke up and I was like, man, like it's just that, but even more. It's been great. Our family was amazing. Our families had a really nice time meeting each other for the first time. That was beautiful, and the ceremony went well. There were no injuries, so that's always good. And the photographer scared the living crap out of me. She was intense, but she did a good job. Still waiting on the photos, but hopefully we'll get those sometime this century. And yeah, it was overall, really good. And now just moving.
So Joey, when you get your wedding photos, you need to do a special chair here with us so that we can we can help you criticize your photos. Not the ones that you took. The one that you're a photographer.
Yeah, the ones with the photography. I didn't take anything. It was
Exactly.
weird, man. It was
Well,
weird.
were you kind of like having to restrain yourself from telling your photographer what to do?
Oh no, I told her what to do sometimes. Yeah, no, because she was a solid like 2 feet shorter than me, so the camera was like angled up like this, and I'm like, look, lady, I've been dieting, starving myself for the last 3 months for this wedding. I will not have 12 chins, madam, not today. But she did a really good job. She was a Canon shooter. Yeah, I'm kidding. No, she did a really good job, and she brought the 2.8, no 2.0 lens, the zoom one. It's a 2.0 straight through. But yeah, no, it was good. And yeah, just being packed. I've been kind of MIA the last little bit because I'm in the middle of a move right now. We're moving into the different part of the city here, so just been boxing everything up and getting ready to move out of this space. I think since I started talking to you guys, I've been in this apartment, so it's going to be crazy.
So you're
Where
moving
are
to a
you
new
moving,
apartment?
Joe?
Moving to the north, just off Crowchild there, so be a little ways away from downtown. I don't know if the downtown's not being great the last little bit. Even around our building, there's been a lot more homeless encampments and crackheads shooting up and stuff. So I thought, you know what? As much as I'd love to live downtown, maybe the time is past.
Okay, so you're gonna be in the burbs, huh?
Oh, I'm excited. No people, no sound. It's going to be beautiful. I'll have to drive everywhere. Oh, it's going to be magical.
See, now you're gonna be not far enough from downtown where you're gonna turn into a nature photographer.
Yeah, I'm gonna turn into a birder. It's gonna
Be a
happen.
birder, another
I have the
birder,
lens.
man, another
Is
birder.
that?
Yeah, I got the lens and everything, and I'll actually be able to see the aurora, like David can. You know, when you're so close to downtown, it's hard to see it sometimes. I think I've caught it once or twice over downtown in the few years I've been here, so it's gonna be cool to, yeah, kind of take that next step. But no, it's good, guys. Everything is Gucci and Prada, as the kids say.
Yeah, I've actually shot the aurora from the roof of my condo, but they won't let me up there anymore at night,
Oh yeah.
which is a pain.
Get to back. God, can't pronounce yet. Two bachelors.
Oh, sorry, Chuck.
We got two bachelors
Oh, two
here.
bachelors. Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
Z Raid and who else? And Mar Robert Barner.
Robert
Okay.
Varner. Okay.
Yeah, I think you had that Z raid correct there, Chuck.
Yeah, there were a lot of comments here that I should probably put up. In all fairness, here, even though I'm going back a little bit, when we had that little my brief existential grasp of the MTF charts, got a few comments. I'll throw them up quick. Mazman, the charts are based on concentric circles radiating out from the center. Yeah, that's one of the measurements. Is like going on an angle from the center to the corners in concentric circles, and then you have different lines that they, like I said, the two different lines that they measure. Then he mentioned that you get to the edge of the chart, a lot of that's out of your frame in your camera. Well, because your sensor size and your usable area on your sensor, you're not using every single pixel on your sensor.
Mm.
So some of that won't show up in your pictures.
In your images.
And then Cooley's saying, I think sharpness is overrated. Well, there's a lot of, you now have that, recently they put that in Lightroom there anyway, they put that blurring feature in to increase your bokeh. I don't know if you've ever tried that. I fooled around with that. It actually works pretty good.
It's good. I like it.
Actually works pretty good.
Yeah. So I put the charts there, Jeffrey. I'm sharing the chart in case that you
Oh,
want to make.
you got the charts. Okay, let me
Yeah.
just go through. Let's see. See, Joey, you broke the trend here.
Hey man, the key is whatever's gonna make you the happiest, you got to do that. If that's marrying someone, if that's being single, I mean, that's beautiful. You just need to
Exactly.
exactly just love what's gonna make you happy. If that's taking photos like while jumping out of a helicopter with a paraglider thing set up, and no one's gonna give you a hard time about that, go for it, man. That's cool.
We got Greg Wilson's in here now, which we'll say hi to Greg. And yeah, here's a commentary. Sharpness only matters for kitchen knives.
True.
Well, if it's a portrait lens, you don't care about the edges that much, do you?
No,
Maybe the next Tamron will be an 85-1.4. They'll make a good portrait lens.
you care about it for landscapes, though.
Hey,
Yeah, for some things.
hey, Jeff, can you just cue me in the for just a second?
Put it big.
Ah, there we go. Look at this. Look at this. Now that the cat is just saying, "I'm just gonna take a nap." Oh no, the cat's moving now.
Oh,
No,
Camera shy.
The
Oh.
cat severed the wire. He's like, I don't want to be on here. No paparazzi.
The cat pulled the plug on the camera.
well,
exactly.
how's it? Wait a minute, bud.
I like how no matter how far we come with camera technology, anytime we try to use any of our cameras as a webcam, something always glitches. Like it never works the way it's supposed to. And it's like you're trying to connect your phone to your camera, and before you know it, your phone crashes, and you're like, "How is this happening? I'm just trying to take a long exposure."
Like I didn't hear the cat go or anything like that. So I don't.
Chuck now got somebody else. Actually, Chuck, you should have called your cat now that he's using the switchboard. You can call it your Steven.
Yeah,
I don't know.
You should have named your cat Steven.
yeah.
That would have been funny.
That's what I should have suggested. Yeah.
So it does
Yeah.
shout Steven.
Maybe Stephen is the cat's second name, you know?
Middle name, right? Noah Steven. So here's those exciting charts that Gustavo was talking about here, and and we're not going to really go into detail. All I'm going to say is you're looking for the two, whether it be the red line and the dotted red and the blue line and the dotted blue. You want them to be as close to each other as possible, and you want them to be as straight as possible. And you can see just this is the 1.4 that we were talking about. This is the 1.8, and you can see how straight the lines are and close the lines are. This is your contrast. This is your resolution, and and as Mozman says, some of the fallout that you see near the very end here is probably not something that you're going to see in terms of a derogatory result on your image, because it's showing pixels that are not representative of what's used to show your image or capture your image. So, but obviously you can see that these slope down quicker on the 1.4. There's more variation. And the blue lines are always going to be, and like I said, it's measuring a different characteristic, and it's never going to be typical up there with the red lines. Okay, it's always going to be lower. But you can just even here to 1.2. Look at the 1.2 versus the 1.8. Look how tight it is up here, and then here there is a gap in between, and that's with the 1.2. And but don't get hung up on this any more than we can get hung up on all the excitement or disappointment or theoretical disappointment of dynamic range results of, one camera being half a stop better than another one, or 2/3 of a stop better than another one, and trying to make it out like the end is near. Sell all your gear. You don't have the one with the best dynamic range. If you want to get that crazy with the dynamic range, then change the medium format, and then you won't be shooting wildlife either at that point. I'm trying to fool with these lights. They're driving me nuts. I'm not getting what I want out of them tonight. Either that or my complexion is changing.
It happens to all of us, Jeff. It's fine.
Yeah. I was out in the sun too much or whatever, so my skin tones are changing.
That happens when you reach 30. And then it's downhill.
I have so much to look forward to.
Oh, there's a lot of things that, Joey, don't believe the crap that everybody says. Oh, can't wait till the golden years. No, you're in the golden years right now. Remember that. You are truly in the golden years right now.
I'm trying to enjoy everything as much as I can whenever I can.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. But
So
yeah.
I missed a little bit what you guys were talking about with the new 1.4. So what's the hoopla about the new Nikon 51.4? Is there some like debate? Are people stoked for it? I mean, what I've seen of it, it looks sick. Like I don't know, I think it looks pretty cool.
It's obviously the cheapest, lower price, 2/3 of a stop better than a 1.8. But its characteristics are different wide open, because it's going to be sharp in the center, soft on the edges. So you got to stop it down to get the edges sharp. It's acting more like an F-mount lens would, regarding, it's acting, the behavior is similar to the 35. 35 is the same way. It's not sharp.
Now, remember with the 1.8s, when they first came out, they said that they would be something acting along of a 1.4.
Right, they're going to be like the 1.4 in the F mounts, which the 1.4 F mounts were better than the 1.8s in the F mounts, but now it's the other way around.
Right. So I just, what is coming, the difference between the F1.4 and the 1.8?
The 1.4 is, the 1.8 is going to be sharp at wide open, corner to corner at 1.8. The 1.4 is not going to be sharp corner to corner at 1.4. It's going to be sharp in the middle and soft on the corners. And of course, it's going to be 2/3 of a stop faster, so it's going to be a little bit better in low light. But it, like I said, if you're a chart person, you could see where you're going to have a little more contrast with the 1.8 than you do with the 1.4. So it's a checks and balance. It's like, what do you want? What's your budget? But right now, even when it's not on sale, the difference in price between the 1.8 and the 1.4 is only $130. It isn't like it's a ton of money. And right now, being on sale, it's only $30 difference. So I don't know. I mean, a lot of people don't like some of the Z mount lenses because they think they're too critically sharp. Okay, there's a group of people that feel that they're too critically sharp. They don't have character. So for those who associate character, and there's nothing wrong with that. Even if you go out and you buy like manual focus, a Voigtlander lens or whatever, a lot of those lenses, depending on which model lens you buy, but a lot of their lenses are going to be soft around the edges, wide open. And then maybe when you go down 2 stops, then they're exceptionally sharp corner to corner from then on out. And some people look at that as like having two different looks with the same lens, depending on what you set your aperture at. And some people feel that some of the other Nikon lenses, you don't have that difference in character, wide open versus whether it be 1.4 to 2.8. They kind of behave the same way on the Z lens because they're still just as sharp corner to corner, and some people don't like that. So and there's nothing wrong with that. Everybody has a different look, and a lot of it depends on what your subject matter is. Like I said, if I'm doing landscapes, it's really, that isn't so important to me because I'm not shooting at 1.4.
You're stopping down.
0.8. I'm stopping down. I'm at f8, f11 or more. So it's irrelevant to me doing a landscape. But if you're a portrait photographer and you want that little bit of a dreamy look, shooting wide open, have a little better bokeh, having a little more blur, then you may lean towards the 1.4 lenses, save yourself a little bit of money, and there's nothing wrong with that. So it depends a lot on what you shoot. It depends a lot on how
you remember, and I think Chuck was alluding to that, the whole controversy when Nikon first came with the 1.8 and the 1.2, that people said, "Oh, I want 1.4," and there was this big drama in the community. Now we got them all.
Yeah. But the thing is, what Nikon did that kind of is just kind of weird is the two focal lengths have flipped in terms of their behavior and flipped in terms of their cost versus the F mount lenses. It's just kind of weird that they didn't do things the same way, but whatever.
But it had to do with that what the Z mount allows versus the F mount, correct? The
mount size.
Exactly.
There we go.
Look at that.
Papa Chuck, all happy.
Yeah, Noah Stephen is wide awake.
So what are you buying Noah for Christmas, Chuck?
Oh, I don't. I probably shouldn't say because something.
Yeah, the cat will read your mind and know anyway.
Yeah.
He probably didn't tell Maribel yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. I bought stuff so he can everything. There you go.
Well, I know it's silly. You may find it silly, but with my dog, I can't mention certain things because she knows exactly what it is. So if it's like a certain TOY and that she likes, I can't name it by name because she'll think I have it like now to give it to her now. So I can't discuss that, So Greg is saying here, he hasn't been out with his camera in forever. Hope to get out a bit tomorrow. Work's been crazy and wearing me out. Yeah, Tim, a.k.a. Mozman's having that problem. His work is killing him right now. I know that. So it's, yeah.
Hey, somebody had to keep the economy going. So
well, you have to keep putting money in so we can get our Social Security.
Exactly.
Yeah, it costs an awful lot of money to shoot the Aurora, and somebody's got to pay for it.
So Jeff, when I was going through the rumors and the announcement of the lenses, one thing that I went and started reading, correct? It's when you look at the F scale, correct? The f-stop scale. Obviously, 1.4 was one of the full stop, correct? It was from 1 to 1.4 to 2.0.
Right, 2, 2.8, 4, 5.6.
Exactly.
But you got all these in betweens now.
Exactly. We got all this in between because that's what optically makes more sense for them, correct? But I remember we had that discussion with Roy before, correct? When we were talking about the knot. So I Google which is the fastest lens that exists, correct? Because for me, one is almost like, hey, the ideal lens, and Roy mentioned, oh, the ideal lens is called something, which I hope he repeat. But I think the fastest lens that apparently commercially, correct, it was a 0.7. Right?
Yeah, that was the Zeiss.
Exactly, and they
Oh,
were,
Zeiss 0.7.
but there
Kubrick
is
had a
one
pile
of
of
the,
them.
but there is one of these new Chinese manufacturers that have come with a 0.7 lens. That would be
I've
an
had a look
interesting.
at a couple of those, and they're a little bit deceptive. You check them at 0.7, and they're not 0.7.
Oh, okay,
They're fibbing a bit about how fast those lenses really are.
exactly. But that's interesting, correct? Because I mean, 1.0 is for me was always in my mind, maybe mistaken, was, hey, this is basically an ideal lens. You almost don't have to the amount of light that you are able to get based on the aperture and the focal length is kind of the maximum that is possible. But then, of course, that's not the case. You can always take a bigger aperture, a bigger frontal element, correct? And then create even more light, or allow more light to pass through. Right?
Very hard to use fast lenses, though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
especially if they're manual. It takes a lot of skill to get the focus just right. You're never going to get everything in focus anyway.
Exactly.
You're getting to such a
Shallow depth of field.
the depth of field is just so shallow that it's almost unusable at times.
Yes.
I mean, it's just not realistic. I mean, it's like, well, like Roy, you know. I mean, if someone's doing a fashion show, they're not taking pictures of the models wide open.
5.6 to f8.
Right. If Chuck's taking pictures in his studio, he's not typically shooting wide open.
It's not
You
worth
know?
the risk. You
I
get
mean,
too many shots out of focus, it just doesn't work.
do you want to have one eyebrow in focus and the other one blurry, or one eye in focus and the other one blurry, or
Yeah.
people have, I mean, my cheekbone on one side might stick out a little more than the other side. I mean, you want to give yourself a little bit of working room.
You don't do portraits at 1.2 or f
Yeah, but
0.95.
and of course, I mean, when you look at those 0.7 or even the 0.1, correct? That's why something like the knock is so complicated, because they have to bend the rays so much so that they reduce the natural tendency for a lens with a relatively short focal length but a very wide front diameter. That problems like diffraction and chromatic aberration become very apparent on those lenses. Okay?
Well, that
They're not good.
little bit of speed, or that little bit of extra light
Yeah, no
gathering,
problem.
costs you an awful lot of money too.
Yeah, I know, but
Typically, it costs you
And weight
if it's
as well.
the knock, does 0.95,
yes,
the
That's right.
Nikon 0.95. What's that lens cost? Is it like $6,000, $8,000?
Something like that. The thing
Something
is,
like
it's not that usable. It's a brilliant piece of engineering. It's a
exactly.
brilliant lens, but it's not that usable.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
I
You
played
always
with
know what is possible, correct? That's what correct, because even David, you tell me that even with a 20 millimeter 1.8, correct, that is good for astrophotography. Most of the astrophotographers that I follow, they like the lens, but they stop it down a little bit, not much, because they want a lot of light gathering, but they go from 1.8 to f2 or 2.2, correct? You have to make sure that it is sharper corner to corner.
When I
Z
have
is always sharp wide open, but in the old days, you never got a sharp lens wide open like the old Noct 1.2 was never sharp wide open.
Okay, Joey, do that again.
Okay, so
You got to do the facial expression. There you go.
do the facial expression. Okay, yeah. So this is so interesting you guys are talking about this, because today was my first time shooting with a Panasonic 1.4 and a 1.850, either one. So I was out doing this indoor shoot, and I used, this is the 50 that I used for most of the photo and video. and I tried shooting wide open, and it was hard. Like I loved how it looked, but it was like it would be in focus for
A
like
lot of
half a
work.
second. Yeah, and then boom, blurry. Like it was like you'd have like this much space to use, but even just the weight, like
Yeah.
for that much of a difference. I mean, I love this lens. Like if I could, if they were like Joey, you can keep the lens, I'd be like, okay, cool, let me keep it. But I would still use my 1.8 any day of the week over this just for pure weight because like
It's not a travel lens.
no, it's really not. And I mean, I really liked it. It was nice. I threw it on the S9, and it was kind of cool using it with that. But it weighed 3 times more than the camera body, and I was like, "Woo, this is not user. This is not a good vibe."
And that
A
you
little
need a
front
bigger
heavy.
camera.
Sorry,
You need a bigger camera.
I got a bigger camera. I got the S1R. I'd be
That's
shooting with this one.
tiny.
This is heavy.
That's
Like, this
puny.
thing
That's a
better?
baby camera. That's a baby camera.
It's the biggest one I have. I'm sorry, I don't have a large format, Roy. Roy's Photo Museum. I like how Roy just did the knife routine on me. That's not a knife. This is a knife.
Well, the thing is, we use our cameras as weapons too. So the heavier it is, the more likely we're going to walk away from that altercation.
That's awesome. That's all I had. You can put me back on the side. I don't want to be on the big screen. My apartment's a mess. I want to be here. Take me away. Take me away, Jeffrey.
Well, like even when I'm doing the nature shots, and I'm sure Gustavo does the same thing. As the light gets better, obviously when you're there at, sunrise versus you've been there for an hour now. About an hour later, you pretty much have plenty of light, and then at that point, you can, as long as your background isn't close to your subject, you could stop down quite a bit and guarantee that bird is going to be tack sharp, as long as you have it, and you're going to have a decent shutter speed because you have enough light where you can use it to your benefit and stop down more and still have a low ISO. So you're going to do that to make sure that that subject's going to be sharp, the eye, the whole body, not just the eye. And it's not going to screw up your background because your background might be 50 yards away or 100 yards away, and it's still going to be blurry. It's still going to look fine. So light dictates so much of everything that you do with your camera settings, obviously, and sometimes it hurts you, sometimes it helps you. It's funny, Joe. Mookie's worried that hopes your windows are closed because you're moving those lenses around, and people are going to be on the street taking notes. Oh, he's got the Panasonic, blah blah blah.
Yeah, well, luckily it's not mine though. I'm gonna take that back to the camera store on Monday. Jordan Drake was nice enough to lend me the S9, so I'm gonna get all that back over there and get it returned to them.
That 85 1.2, I shoot it most of the time at 1.4 1.2. But
A great lens.
yeah, it's in the and on a good
Oh, I hear the missus calling. I gotta run, guys.
Okay,
Uh,
Joe.
See you, Joy.
No movie.
It's a call. It's his wife calling him from downstairs or something.
Let me show you something here, Joy.
I was
You
waiting
know
for that.
It's just the way I like it, Gustavo. At least buy me dinner first. Come on.
All of us like it, so don't worry. You're winning the club.
Yeah,
Excellent,
cat of
excellent.
9 tails.
There we go. All right, guys. Good night. Have a good
not
one.
good.
See you, Joe.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Joy.
Let you continue, Chuck, with what you were saying.
Oh, I was just saying, I love to shoot at 1.2. But I know when I'm in the studio, and I'm shooting that 85, you have to have you had it well. You have to change it different, but
You got to be more aware and constantly check and
well,
know.
you have to be aware of the person. You might enjoy shooting 1.2 even if the person's you know is is not perfect or well, but uh, but uh, most people will pick um, up some like 30 uh, if 4 you not much in 5.6,
Yeah, 4 to 5.6 range.
yeah, but most of the time though you'll be when I'm outside, I'm sure is why I'm going to be 1.2. I liked it.
Okay.
Yeah, I
I
think it
love
has
the
a lot
lens.
to do with outside. If you got the person with flowers like 2 feet behind their back or something, and you do the 1.2, the flowers are all nice and soft. But like I said, if the flowers were 10 feet behind the person, you wouldn't have to use 1.2. You could use, you could still have the flowers soft and maybe
Yeah.
stop it down a stop, and you'd be able to do that. So it all depends on your separation between your subject and your background, has a lot to do with what you might want to choose for your settings.
Yep.
Matthew Card is saying photo gear is how we work out. It's our weightlifting.
Exactly.
Well, get the old F mount glass, right? The old the old 600s, couple of old 600 F mount glass. And then, yeah, that'd be good weights.
I've
15
got one
pounds,
of them.
right, Roy? About 15 pounders,
About
roughly.
that. Feels heavier than that.
Heavier than that.
Mhm.
The let's see what else. So in other Nikon news, since I think we've kind of talked about the 51.4 enough, but in other Nikon news, which I'll get booed when I say this. I'm prepared for the boos. I've been practicing, how to get less boos tonight, but I'm going to get booed on this. But as many of you know, especially if you're into the video side of your camera technology, and you are definitely using your camera as a true hybrid camera and doing both stills and videos. The first benefit of the red Nikon joining, you could say, is the release of some LUTs, which are lookup tables, which I guess the best way to talk about a lookup table is consider it similar to your picture controls that you set in your camera to apply differences in sharpness or how vibrant your image is or what have you for your still photography with your JPEG files. So just think of a LUT as a set of parameters that are predefined that you can apply to your video output, and then obviously you can still adjust it further, once you've done that. So you now have some LUTs called achromic, film bias, bleach bypass, and film bias offset. And you can convert your N-Log footage to stylized REC 709 colors using these LUTs. And I watched, and these will work on your ZF, your Z63, your Z8, and your Z9, and maybe some things that people don't realize, because I watched several videos and neither video talked about this, what I'm about to say, is you're not downloading these LUTs into your camera body. You cannot download the LUTs into the camera. It is a free download, but you're downloading the LUTs actually get downloaded into an external monitor, like if you have an Atmos Shinobi 2 or an Atmos Ninja, or you're moving those LUTs into your software editing program, such as the only ones that were mentioned was DaVinci Resolve and Adobe Premiere Pro. So I don't know that those LUTs can be downloaded into Final Cut Pro. If you're like me working on a Mac, I use Final Cut Pro, might not be able to use those LUTs. The LUTs are used a lot by people that have the DaVinci Resolve, which is a more powerful program, more complicated program, more expensive program. But if you have the patience to learn it, and you have the powerful enough computer to handle it, then you'll be able to, put these LUTs in. So people are really excited about it because I think mostly because, well, it's showing that, okay, finally something's happening, early on. It's not a hardware thing, but it's some benefit of the collaboration and now the ownership of Red being under Nikon. And so they're making some effort here to put something out. And so I watched Scott Balcom's video and Matt Irwin's video. And what people like about it is let's say they have a Red camera already. Maybe they own a Raptor, or they own one of their 6K video cameras or what have you, that have these LUTs in it already. And then they also have maybe they have a Z8 or a Z9. Now they can shoot footage, and they can use the same LUTs. And Scott Balcom had basically samples from 3 different cameras, Nikon camera and 2 Red cameras. One was a 6K camera, one was an 8K camera on the Red side. And he compared, the same shot from each camera, the same video footage from each camera, to compare how close they were to each other, so that people could have that benefit in terms of mixing their hardware and video hardware and get a very similar result. Now, personally, the LUTs that they chose, what I saw that was presented, I personally couldn't stand them. I thought they were horrible.
Yeah, wash out.
They were washed out. There was no, the green in the leaves were to me, the luminance would have to be dialed way down to get some color back into the leaves. The sky didn't look great, and even though Scott said, well, the white clouds really aren't blown out, well, they were as close to being blown out as they could be. They didn't do any. Those LUTs didn't do anything for me. Now maybe the quote unquote cinematic look of something that was maybe represented a look that you would have got shooting a movie in 1960.
Exactly.
Maybe you'd be happy with those LUTs, but I certainly wasn't overly I wasn't like, oh yeah, that's the greatest thing. I wish I could. I'm going to have to go get DaVinci Resolve so I could do that with my video. I mean, I didn't feel that way at all. That's just me, but some people are going to be really amped up about it. So
yeah, it looks like if you wanted to do a video that looks like it was filmed in the 70s or the 60s.
Yeah, not enough contrast, too washed out, no pop with any of the colors whatsoever.
It was done for people like Chuck who like film look so much.
Well, it's like, I'll tell you, it'll look like my friend Bob's 8mm videos look like.
Exactly.
I think that was the idea behind it. Is some of these people are into nostalgia.
Yeah, so
And,
film emulation type.
Yeah, with the film simulation, and this way you can use you can mix your red and your Nikons together.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Exactly.
there's an advantage of that. And but when he shot this, he made a camera mount that held all three cameras at the same time. So he did all the shooting at the same time, which I think is a bit of dedication. But anyway, at the same time, they really didn't impress me. But if that's the look that you want, because a lot of these people that are into film, they spend an awful lot of money on the look that they want. And
Well, if they
suits
like
them.
that look, talk to Bob and ask him what 8mm, super 8mm cameras he uses. Buy an old one and start shooting it on film again, because that's the look you're getting with that. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot more LUTs that they have that would be, let's say, probably more pleasing to my eye or whatever, which they don't have available yet into the Nikon universe. But anyway, hey, I'm knocking it. I mean, that's just my personal picadillos, but
No, but
some people, it's exactly what they want, and it'll match their cameras brands up,
exactly.
and that's a good thing. That is a good thing, and for those that are into that, you're going to be very excited and you're going to enjoy it a lot.
And that's exactly what David is saying. That
Yeah.
if you have a small production company, correct? A cinema production company, then you can add to your repertoire a relatively inexpensive camera, and then that camera will be compatible with your other red camera. That's what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
It's marketing.
So I think as I'm going to say 70-30 guy, I'm probably 70% stills and 30% video, 60-40 at the most, but probably more like 70-30. I'll be more excited when I see the benefits of red technology in Nikon cameras relative to hardware.
Yeah, but Bookie make a good point in the chat. It's free, so
yeah.
Let's not complain. I mean, we're not complaining. We're just commenting, right? We're just talking about it.
See, the other thing that it allows you to do, if you're a red production company and you're going to shoot something that's a little bit dangerous, and you don't want to put your red in there, you put your Z, 8 or 9 in that situation. If you lose it, you don't lose much. But if you got your red in there, you're losing 3 times as much.
Yeah, if you're going to do JAWS 4, then use the Nikon.
Yeah, but you can mix and match your color and whatever, because all of these guys that when you get into movies, color is everything for them. But these are only the first 4, and if red probably has hundreds of them, so there'll be more coming.
Exactly.
Yeah, with Mookie's comment here, and to answer your question, yeah, we were looking at his LUT files because he had the bleached. The bleached one was really, really, really like white. It was it was bleached. All right, yeah, there were significant differences between one.
Looks so bleached that it's like when you used to over process or you put the wrong ISO in your film. So
yeah. So yeah, and like you said, it's free. So I'm just saying it wasn't my taste. I mean, I would have thought that, but I mean, I understand that there are people that want that look. It's just like some people will never shoot black and white. I like to shoot black and white film once in a while, and I do convert some of my raw files to black and white. Sometimes a black and white image is more tells the story better than the color image does. So everybody has their own feel for their technique and what they like to show. So I'm not belittling those who are going to enjoy it and like it. I'm just saying I was expecting something different when I was watching those examples. I wasn't expecting that.
But it is free, and it is it's probably gives us an idea of what's going to come down the line later on.
It is important though that you know that you can't. It does not go in your camera. That.
Yeah. Jed.
Well, you can write it down on a piece of paper and stick it in.
Go ahead, Chuck.
You're not, it's okay. This is not image for image. Yeah. Well, this is foreign cinema.
It's for the video. The ones that want a cinema camera that don't want to pay for a cinema camera.
Boy, they don't care. They don't care, and other whatever. Can't speak. But
it doesn't affect the stills at all. So if you don't do video, you don't care anyway.
It's right, But for all those people that do, it's cool. It really is. But anyway, I got some more to say on that, but I just don't have it words to speak it.
Well, the old saying, right? Different strokes for different folks. There's nothing wrong with that.
And see, the big thing with this, it shows Nikon and Red working together.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's what a lot of the excitement. A lot of the excitement is probably more so that you're seeing a tangible benefit from the merger, from the buyout. Yeah. And it didn't take that long. Did not take that long to see something. So,
Noah, one of your friends here.
Oh, beautiful! Look at the cat. I like it.
Yeah. I don't think the cat likes to be held up to the camera like that.
No, camera shy.
Camera shy. Yeah.
Well, this is
put me down. Put me down.
So luckily you have a dog that gets along with the cat, and vice versa, right? Exactly. I mean, you don't have a. Mega Briarpatch says, "Yeah, once again, one of us on the panel here has forced somebody to spend money. This time it was me, so he could blame me now."
Yeah, I wonder what he thinks about that lens.
Have you had a chance to try the lens out, Briar? Have you had a chance to go out and use it yet? Hopefully. I'm sure you just got it probably in the last week. Nancy Jane is here. Hey, Nancy, good to see you. Nancy, are you officially retired now? Or are you
next year?
Next year? Is it next year? Unless you've had enough already and you left early.
I think it's the end of February next year.
Yeah.
See, she's got to get those astronauts back.
Yeah.
They'd have quite the overtime bill. I gone up there for 8 days. 8 months later, I make it home. Maybe.
Yeah, and this is what we were saying. If you now have the benefit of matching these cameras up,
exactly,
with each other.
Yes.
And I'm sure. Yeah, they started off. They picked. Well, I mean, I guess they were saying these are like the more popular LUTs that people use on the Red cameras now, and that's why they picked the ones that they did, because they're the ones that a lot of people are applying to their files when they're shooting with the Red cameras now. So They figured we'll take the ones that are most popular and we'll put them into the Nikon universe so you can get it into your use it with your Nikon cameras. And yes, exactly to your point that it matches things up, and it makes it so they don't have to have a bunch of $10,000 plus cameras, video cameras. And so Breyer's saying he did regarding the 800. He's saying he got to use it once in the backyard with a hummingbird in a silhouette, lots of flowers in the distance. He says beautiful rendering, and the lightweight was a little shocking for the size.
Oh yeah.
Yes, it is. It is amazing that you can. I mean, I've walked around with that lens for like 4 hours and came home and did not have to put a heating pad on me anywhere. Would I walk around with it for 8 hours? No. Would I hold it up in the air for 4 hours? No. But for walking around, get some shots, walk a little more, get some more shots. You can carry that around for quite a while.
And it takes. And the other thing is, it takes so well the converters. So don't. That's your next thing, Mega Bright Patch. It works very well with the converter. When birds are far away, that is exactly what you want to use. Working that lens at f9 with a 1.4 is a delight.
I could have right now though. See, I could start a war because I could have a boxing match here between Roy and Gustavo on whether it's good to use teleconverters or not, because they're
No.
both on each end of the spectrum. So I could just sit here, pull up the mic like I'm on and say, "Are you ready to rumble?"
I'll use teleconverters if I have to, but I don't like to. I'm fussy.
I used to be Leroy, but not anymore.
The new Z converters are pretty good though.
Yes.
I've only got about a dozen teleconverters, and but they are the best.
Okay, Nancy, I'm an idiot here. I don't know what a skid steer is.
Oh yeah.
I'm surprised that she got a skid steer that cheap. Must be
Well,
a small
you'll
one.
have to entertain me as to what that is, because I don't know what that is.
You see it?
It's a small loader. The wheels don't turn. What happens to turn
First, yeah.
is the brakes work on one side and the other side turns the wheels. That's why they call it a skid steer, because your tires are skidding around.
Well, is this for like something to do with campers or RVs?
Nope.
No, probably for cleaning the driveway or digging holes, or it's like a small loader.
Oh, okay.
Her husband bought accused. It moves dirt.
Moves dirt.
Yeah.
Drives like a tank.
Yeah.
Get a 120-pound lab, and that can move dirt pretty good too.
It would load it into a truck though.
It won't load it into the truck, but it'll dig the dirt out of your yard though, pretty good.
Yeah, but not in the right place,
Yeah.
Yeah, but Nancy one time told us that she was getting a place near the beach, correct?
Okay. See, this is the word I needed. A bobcat.
Exactly.
There you go.
Now I'm good. Now I know what you're talking about.
Yep.
See, a bobcat's a trade name.
Yeah.
Skid steer is a generic name.
So Sanjit's in here and saying owning a red for work is a dream setup. Looking forward to that day to become a reality. Well, they had a good sale, because you could have got I think it was the 6K model for about $6,400 recently.
Almost the prices of C9, correct?
Yeah, for the price of a Z9, you could have bought a red 6K red. Like a week or so ago. I don't know if you still can or not, but
it's all the.
But you got to buy all the accessories to go with it. So
exactly.
Yeah,
And the lenses.
they they double or triple the price, by the time you get it all. But from what I understand, that is the new price for Reds. Because Nikon dropped the price because I guess they want to sell more.
Yeah.
Well, and also if they want to get that inventory moving before they come with a Z mount version, correct?
Yeah. Well,
That's
and
that's
we're
what I
gonna.
read.
And,
That's
and,
what I thought it happened, David. That they were trying to get moving some inventory ahead of a Red with a Z mount, which will be more compatible with Nikon. So probably for Sanjit, it would be better to have one that had the same mount, correct?
yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think it's going to be that long before Red
No.
comes up with an RF to Z mount or the whichever way works.
I think
Because
you'll see. I think you'll see it within 6 months to a year.
because they have the technology to do it, and they are the only ones with the technology to do it.
Exactly.
And so Breyer's saying, yeah, no money left over for a teleconverter after you buy the lens. Yeah, that's the problem.
That's a problem. But the Z mount converters are good.
Yeah. I mean,
I
I've
would,
got the 1.4, and I think at some point, I'm not in a hurry. At some point, I will get the 2.0. But right now, I mean, throughout my long journey and spending money on camera gear, I always had a 1.4. But I had, of course, back in the F mount days, the 2.0 was not good at all.
no, it was horrible.
The 1.7 was it's menza for the 1.7 when they had that, and the 1.4 was pretty good. But now the 1.4 and the 2.0 are really good with the Z mount, and I may eventually get the 2.0 as well. But I don't use the teleconverters a lot. I mean, but they would have their place though. If I was situated somewhere or like Gustavo, you're traveling, let's say, and you're in an area where you got birds of prey and they're nesting areas and they're really far away, and you can only get so close, and that's it. And you're going to set up your tripod and you're going to get out your 800 and you're going to you may be putting the 2 times on there. You may even on top of that be using DX mode.
No, but actually, I prefer to use a converter than the DX mode, to tell you the truth. So that's how good it is. But no, certainly when I went to Iceland, I didn't want to carry the 600 or the 800, so I took only the 600 PF. Okay? But I took the converter and I use it. The 1.4 when I need more reach, and that's with a fantastic.
Well, like that the converter would be good too, even if say you're just general travel and you have the 1-400 zoom. You know what I mean? You bring the tellies with you. That lens works good with the tellies as well. So you could bring a relatively small zoom and a couple tellies and get by.
Yeah.
And this is something I will talk about later in the show, and I was just going to mention that we were talking about the sale price on Breyer was reading my mind here. I do have information about the C80, the Canon C80 that just came out, which is not a stills camera. It's a cinema video camera, period. That's what it is, and we will talk about that later in the show. That's part of what I have in my script for tonight is to bring that up, because we do talk about other brands, and like I said, the tools you choose to pick are up to you. We may lean a certain way, but that doesn't. It's just sometimes you lean a certain way just because your dad gave you that camera when you were a kid and you liked it and you stuck with it. You know what I mean? Not necessarily because you did mind-boggling comparison tests.
Yeah, and sometimes because of our body shape, we all lean forward.
So he's got Gray Masterton talks about buying the
The Nikkor Cine lenses.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think Nikon is already starting to go that way to a certain extent, and so, and it won't be all that long until it's going to be an option on a Red to get the Z mount on it, because the Red cameras already come with a lot of options. They're not really an off-the-shelf camera, because you can customize the whatever you want in them. But that costs extra.
Yeah. Well, there's nothing cheap out there anymore, right? I mean, everything is everything causes you to wince in pain for a little bit of amount of time.
Yeah.
Yeah, the yeah, so I mean it's neat with what everybody's doing. And it's this is good. Nancy's granddaughter's taking a photography class in her college studies as an elective using the Nikon D4 that she recently gave her. Well, heck, that's not a camera to complain about. I certainly didn't get to start off with a D4, and I'm old enough where I'm not going to tell you what I started off with either.
Yeah, now, is she complaining about the weight?
Yeah. The what else do we got here? Yeah, the thing that's kind of irritating to me a little bit is the costs of the programs for video editing, and when you really want to get into, if you really want to get into being really engrossed in the cinema side of things and doing the LUTs and fooling around with LUTs or making customized LUTs. Well, Nikon you could go in there now and make some customized LUTs, I believe, in one of their software programs. But the thing is, you got to have a really powerful computer. You got to have plenty of hard drive space, and you have to have the time to learn the software. And I'll be honest with you, I don't feel that I've learned Final Cut Pro. I use it. I know enough to be dangerous. I know enough to put something together, but I don't know it like I know my camera, because, I just don't have the hours and hours and hours of extra time to, if you ever look through the operating manual or the software manual for these higher end video editing programs, we complain about a 900 page or 1,000 page Nikon manual for a Z9 or something. That ain't nothing compared to the software stuff. I mean, you got to have an awful lot of time. That's a good thing to fool around with if you live in an area where, let's just say, you don't take pictures in the wintertime because you can't get out of your house type of thing. Then the wintertime would be a good time to learn how to do the software. You're trapped at home. You can't get out. Learn it then.
I've got a friend of mine that teaches a college course on that, and he'd be an excellent professor to have. And he uses all Macs.
But
Let's see what else I got here. And I don't want to jump to the other brands yet. The only thing on Nikon rumors, they didn't have a lot of stuff. I mean, obviously they talked about the 51.4 And then in their opinion, the next things that are going to come out from Nikon are going to be the Z50 version 2, Coolpix P100 replacement, and talking about cinema lenses. They've already had it on the rumors as the Nikkor 25 to 135 millimeter power zoom cinema lens. So that may be the first cinema lens that we see. And then Richie was recently participated with another gentleman on a live stream and basically solidified the fact that there is going to be a 35 millimeter f1.2 S-line lens coming out soon. So whatever soon is, put your spin on that, is soon. To me, if you're going to do that, get it out so people can get orders in before Christmas. Announce it in the next month so people can order it and get it before Christmas. If you're going to do that. Now, Nikon Rumors, and they just put it in there today, and I think it was this afternoon because I checked Nikon Rumors in the morning. They didn't have anything new. I checked it an hour before the show, and there was a whole article in there, an interview with a Nikon executive, and I'm not going to try to screw up his name by pronouncing it wrong. I'm not going to tell you the guy's name, but anyway, I'm just going to share some of his comments that came out in this interview, but I recommend you go to Nikon Rumors and you read the whole thing because it's a pretty lengthy article. But anyway, this executive said, they want to focus on mid to high end models, improve their production capacity, and they want to get a Z mount. Get the Z mount on the Red camera, and they want to have a Z mount to be used in filming. And they said India shows a huge growth potential, so they brought up India a lot as being a place where a lot of movie making is being done. Not all by professionals, semi-pros, amateurs, but the filmmaking potential is very, very high. Obviously in Hollywood, and they're saying in India, and India is going to be a big part of the market. So they're saying their decision to focus on mid to high-end models, professional models, and mirrorless cameras in the 2020s has worked better than expected. He said the Chinese market is a typical example. Sales are high because the wealthy are looking for cameras rather than smartphones. India is also growing. The country has a large population, but there is also a large demand for weddings. They want to continue to make high precision lenses. He says they're going to invest 100 billion yen and gradually renovate their factories by 2030. And they talk about acquiring Red, and they said the Z mount is expected to be used in filming as well. Like to use our channels to promote it in India, a major film nation. No doubt that this field is an area where market expansion is expected. Many of the Nikon lenses are made in Thailand, and high performance ones are produced in, I'm going to pronounce it wrong, Tochigi, Tochigi. Says these include large lenses that are several meters across and are used in microscope objective lenses and semiconductor exposure equipment. We want to improve quality. And they said Nikon's been wanting to enter the video market for some time. Nikon, which is considered conservative in Japan, has acquired Red, which is cutting edge in Hollywood. They have sent engineers to Red and are serious about it. They're saying our current cameras are good enough for taking videos, but the subtleties of Hollywood movies, including the colors, are completely different. We don't know what the final result will be, but we want to respond to the demands of those who are not satisfied with the original. We want to take one or even half a step forward while listening to our customers' voices. So that's where these LUTs are probably taking that one or half step forward, right? So that's all I pulled out of that article. All interesting things, but if you want to get more into the content, then read it in Nikon Rumors, and I always reference my sources here, so because they should get the credit because they wrote the article and it's on their website. I was embarrassed to see that they also had on their website where they talked about some new Nikon ambassadors, and I'm not going to get into, one is a couple that are wedding filmmakers out of New Jersey. Another person is a portrait photographer that is a Boulder, Colorado-based artist. Another one is a commercial and documentary director based in LA. So there's 4 people that are now Nikon ambassadors, and I'm not going to, get into a lot of what they do, because you could go read that on Nikon Rumors or go on the Nikon. I'm sure it's on Nikon USA site. But what bothered me was that there were so many people that went to some of the links that were provided so that you could go and look at their work and what they've done. And there were so many people that bashed them. There were so many people that ripped them apart. Oh, I could do better. Nothing special. Blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh my God, people, really, let me put it to you this way. If you're so damn good, why aren't you doing it? Okay, because all the people that bitch about these people are just jealous. If you're that much better, then why aren't you a Nikon ambassador? Why aren't you earning a living doing what you apparently can do better than these folks? I'm just sick of it. It just stop the name calling and the trying to destroy people. It's just they earned it. Nikon felt they earned it. And that's all that matters, and you can choose to like what they do or not like what they do. But if you really think that you're that much better, then next year I want to have your name up here on the screen and I can say you are now a Nikon ambassador. Otherwise, as my kids used to like to say that I hated, they use that term, zip it. Zip it.
Exactly.
Zip it. And that's all I'm going to talk about with that. They have this kind of, well, they have what they're calling a Nikon ZFC limited edition camera that came out, and it's basically a whole bunch of differently styled body wraps to go around the ZFC camera, but it's not going to be something that's available in North America for anytime soon. It's going to be more of a Europe and Asia thing, I guess, and eventually may become available for people in the United States. But they have a whole bunch of different patterns that you can see on their website, different designs. So they're getting beyond just having different colors for the ZFC. Now you can get these different designs, but you have to live in the appropriate area to be able to take advantage of it right now. And then they were rumoring that there's going to be a ZF limited edition, and they said it may end up being basically the same thing, where it's just a different wraps on the body, but they're not sure. They're not sure at this time.
It'd be nice to have different wraps, because today you want to be orange, tomorrow you want to be blue, and next day you want to be polka dots. So you fit in with the younger crowd.
Well, you want to be think of those different wraps similar to putting a tattoo on yourself, right? So you make yourself you create art, on yourself with a tattoo. It separates you from somebody else, and now you can do it with your camera body. It's like putting a different tattoo on your camera body. Everybody wants to be different. Nikon's sale, by the way, I think ends tomorrow. So if anybody's looking to buy any of the stuff they have on sale, I think it expires tomorrow. So you've got you know, an hour and 15 minutes, you can leave the show and go order something real quick and come back.
That sale didn't happen in Canada, only in the States.
Only in the States, huh?
And in the U.S., companies weren't allowed to ship to Canada.
So do you think you guys are getting no respect? Is that what I'm hearing here? Probably, right? They're forgetting about you guys.
Yeah, like we can't get any swag up here for love nor money. You know, get something that says Nikon on it. Lots of times you can't even buy it.
Well, you had troubles getting your recent flash purchase, right?
Oh, well, that wasn't from Nikon.
Right, and that
You know?
I'm saying that wasn't even Nikon, and you had trouble getting it.
Yeah, and there's, we're almost like a third world country. Except tonight the internet or the cell service is not too bad. But being a third world country, you do have good Aurora.
Let's see. Let's see. Let me put up. Cooley's got a question. We'll see if any of you guys want to comment on it. What do you guys do to prepare for a landscape shoot, plus doing some nature photos? I'm not going to start this one. I'm going to let you guys start this one.
I just carry my normal gear with me and make it work. But my normal gear is probably more than most people carry.
Yeah, David has a separate tow behind with all his camera gear, just so you know. Tractor trailer. He has an 18-wheeler that follows him wherever he goes.
No, it's not that big. It's only 22 feet.
Only 22 feet.
Yeah.
No, the Cooley, the 24 to 120 is a great lens for the landscape, but I also recently got the 14 to 30, right? So that, and then if I know I'm going to go landscape, I will take the filters, correct? Make sure that they got the polarizers, and, correct, with the step down lenses for the lenses that I'm carrying. So that is basically the only difference for me.
Yeah. Now for me, I'm similar. I got the 14 to 30. I got the 20. I bring the 14 to 30 to 24 to 120. I'd probably bring my 21.8. Okay, my 21.8. And when and if Nikon comes out with a maybe a higher quality, wider angle, fixed lens, I may consider that as well, something that's wider than 20. But then I would also bring, because now you talk in nature too, so you may be looking for what they call a landscape shot that happens to have a deer in it or a moose in it or an elk in it or something like that, where it's still primarily a landscape, but you have a critter in there, and so you're going to want to bring a zoom lens with you as well, or a 400 millimeter lens with a TC, or a 600, or bring the 180 to 600 zoom, whatever your preference is. So you have something for, if you have something interesting with nature occurring, you have a lens long enough to do it. And lots of times the advantage too, if you say you brought the 180 to 600 with you, lots of times when you're doing landscapes don't always mean a 12 to 24 millimeters. Okay, landscapes, lots of times people will use a 70 to 200, or they'll use a smaller zoom lens so that they can bring in the background closer, like bring that mountain in closer. So you have a tree line, you got an animal there, you use a zoom or a telephoto lens, and you compress it. You bring the background closer to you. So yeah, you're gonna be bringing wide angles. You're gonna decide whether you want to bring fixed lens or zoom or any combination thereof. You should bring either a telephoto or a zoom lens, like a 180 to 6 or something, in case you do see nature, and to isolate or bring in the mountains, closer to you. And then you have to think about too, like Gustavo said with the filters, if you're in an area where you're fortunate enough where you have, say, waterfalls, you might want to make sure you have some ND filters if you want to have that milky look with the water type of thing going on. You're going to need some ND filters. So those are, and a tripod and a good tripod. So yeah, you can end up bringing, I could see where you could be bringing at least 4 lenses with you at a minimum, and and a bunch of filters and a good tripod.
Well, Cooley, he's got a good start, having the 14 to 24, the 24 to 70, and the 70 to 200, and a tripod.
Yeah,
Well,
you're good there. I mean, bring a TC with you, because if you end up with an animal in the scene and you want the animal to be a little bit bigger, you might want to put a telephoto on that 70 to 200.
yeah, but like I said, like he's got a good start.
He's got
My
a very
idea is
very good start. Very
It's a
good
bit
start.
different than everybody else's.
Yeah, very good start. You can't complain about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you bring that and some filters. You're going to probably cover 90% of what you're going to want with that. But I said it depends. Like if you know the area well and you go, well, where I'm going, I'm probably not going to see much wildlife, or there's no waterfalls near me. I don't have to worry about that, and you can like modify your kit and take something out, put something in, depending on how well you know the area and what you're trying to get when you're there. But that's a very good start. Yeah, you can't complain about that.
Yeah, but definitely the camera have L bracket so that you can switch easily between shooting, portrait or landscape. That's always useful.
Yeah, I don't know if you have now. Do you shoot? You shoot? The question is, do you shoot full frame or you shoot an APS DX camera? Either one's going to work for you, but for resolution purposes, if you're going to do blow ups, big prints, then obviously a full frame is going to have a little bit of an advantage there. But it all depends on how you share your images too. So if you're doing,
Cooley asked me this question earlier on because he's going to Montana, and I figure he's got a pretty good start.
yeah.
Just if he needs anything wider, he can always shoot a panorama, and if he needs something closer up, well, then that's going to be a problem unless he's got the 100 to 400 plus the TC.
Yeah. Okay, Gustavo, I'll let you go here.
No. I love that. I mean, I don't have the 400 2.8.
You don't?
No, I don't.
Well, I don't believe that.
Yeah, but that's a fantastic lens, and for sure. I mean, that and the 600 are the best lens. But even on the 600 TC, correct? And Nancy, you buy the 400 2.8, it comes with a teleconverter, so you cannot avoid it. so you're going to have a teleconverter.
I don't know if she's talking. I don't know if she's talking the 400, the expensive 400, or the cheap.
The TC or the PF.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
I think she was talking about the 2.8.
She's saying the 400 4.5. 400 4.5. Oh no, Roy's saying the 400 4.5 is great, even handheld.
Oh, that's a great lens for that.
Yeah,
for sure.
I mean, yeah. If you got the dough to get the 400 with the tele built in, yeah. I mean, if I would love to have, the 4 or the 6 with the TC built in, because that would be, just so convenient, and the TC that's built in is designed to optimize to work in an optimized manner with that focal length, with that lens too. So it is going to be better than if you had a 600 and then put a TC, a separate TC on your camera body. So
Well,
um,
that explains why she didn't get it, because the skid steer and the 400 TC are about the same price.
yeah, she did clarify and say the 2.8 version. Yeah, the 400 2.8. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, for me as a mostly wildlife and particular bird photography, 400 is a little bit
Short.
short.
Sure.
So depending on what you're going to do, Dancy, you're going to do. Obviously, I mean, we know both the 400 2.8 and the 604. Those are the prestige lenses in the lineup. Always have been.
Yeah, and the thing is, you're just going to find yourself. I think you're going to find yourself, if you're doing wildlife, that with the 400 2.8, you're going to have that telly engaged a good part of the time.
Quite a bit.
Because if you had, like I said, I used the Gustavo and I both had the 500 PF for a long time, and then he migrated to the 600 right away, and then he cost me money and made me go and get the 600 as well. So, like I said, we all help each other spend money on this channel. That's what we're really good about. And then I did buy the 800 as well, but I won't be going any higher than the price point of the 800 on any lenses that I buy. But unless I'm a published guy, and you see me in Popular Photography or National Geographic, then I'll worry about it. But yeah,
well, you're only 484 subscribers short.
And 5 years from now, I'll still be 485 subscribers short.
Hey guys, I'm getting ready to take off.
Okay.
See, I don't have the sex appeal of Chuck. I can't draw in the viewers.
Yeah.
I don't have the hair. It's all about the hair, man. I don't have the look. I don't have the.
Well, Jeff, before Chuck takes off, why don't you show one of the videos that I sent you today?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna put on here, and hopefully I end up clicking on the right file, because I'm not sure which one it is, but we will see. We will see. I'll share a few things from David Stewart. He has the stuff downloaded on Google, and he directed me, and I got in there, and because I have multiple Google accounts, and I finally got into the right one and found his stuff, and because he's been having a great time with the Aurora the last couple nights, and wanted to share some of his stuff. So before we go on with other stuff, I'll bring up his, some of his work here, and let me go and pick a specific one.
That's a still.
So this is a still.
And if you go, and
I'll make it bigger. So this is a still. So go ahead, David. You narrate here.
This one here is looking directly east, and that's a wharf off to the right, and this is across the lake. And this is Lesser Slave Lake. It's about 2/3 of the way north in Alberta, going north. So, but this night the density was really, really low, and this one here is looking due west almost the same time. I had 4 cameras going. They're all aimed in 4 directions. And my 12 millimeter lens that I was using, which was my shortest, was too long. You know,
Yeah,
the next
I'll
one is
just
the
jump
video.
through. I'll just throw them. I'll just jump through some of these. Here we go. Oh, that's really small.
Yeah.
That's really small. But they
Yeah.
get the idea, but that's small.
And what I like was the dynamic range on this, to be able to see the aurora in that dock that was lit by a street light at the same time. But I was, to produce this, I took a shot every 5 seconds, and you can just get an idea of how fast things were moving. You know,
Wow.
Yeah, that's why all his every still shot he got, like, well, what was your David, what was your time gap between shots when you were doing the stills?
for this time lapse that you're looking at here, there was 5 seconds between shots.
And how long in total, David?
I think it was 40 minutes.
Wow.
So, you know, he
Beautiful.
Yeah.
he just had so many different looks.
And this one here is looking east also. And this is with my D850
Come on, next one.
with the 20.
I like the reflection in the lake.
Yeah.
Yeah, so David was, like I said, he was as excited as a trick-or-treater that found that hidden candy in the house.
No.
And this was also with the D850 at a slightly different time.
I like it.
Yeah,
A little
I
bit of-
had them taking pictures every 20 seconds. Things
Wow.
were just changing that fast.
This one has a little bit of pink, right?
Yeah, there was very little color for the last 2 nights. You know, and that's because the density was way down. It was less than 2, and lots of times you want it up to be 20 and 30. You know, or maybe even higher.
Wow.
You know, and this one here is looking north, and like this scene, if when you look at the series, is everyone is different. You know, and they were 20 seconds apart, and for a while, Anita and I were looking at the sky, and it was changing that fast that if your shutter speed was longer than 1/5 of a second, you missed it because it was different.
And David,
And
that
this-
was visible also with your own eyes as well, or only on the camera?
It was.
Okay.
The colors weren't, but I've got my eyes trained to know what to look for.
Mm.
Yeah, so I can tell if it's there. And this one here is almost sunrise. That's first light. And Chuck would be familiar with first light. But to see the aurora at first light, that's the first time I've ever seen that happen. And I even have a video that I shot coming up to first light and the aurora disappearing. You know.
Let me-
Well, you pretty good.
Yeah.
David had a lot of fun, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It was great being out there. So and we come up here special just for this.
No,
Well-
those were all great. Those were all great.
Yep. I think
I'll probably never see that stuff in my lifetime, so I have to live vicariously through David when it comes to those shots. So
Yeah, and this is my idea of landscape photography.
all right. Well, I've got to say good night, everybody, and good shooting.
Oh, good, great shooting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same to you. Same to you. And take care of the kitty cat, man.
All right.
Yeah, I've known with Stephen.
Yeah. Yeah. Noah Steven.
All
Take it
right.
easy, Chuck.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
But
So and sharing there something for showing Nancy here. This is actually something that I have been doing uh, lately. Because so that is in so that photo from this morning, right? And this is one advantage of the f4 or the f2.8, correct? But you can see, Nancy, this is 600 millimeter, almost at the minimum focal distances of 4.5 meters, correct? For a hummingbird, even at 600 millimeter, I mean, it's only a portion of the frame, right? So the the interesting part of this is that you know that instead of the year during the migration, I take a lot of hummingbird photos. Is this year I have been trying to do this uh, using flash photography. Correct. So there are three ways, and I may put a little presentation. I told Jeff the other day, working with flash. Correct. So this is taken with high speed sync. Correct. So it's you can see it was done at 1/200 and 2,500 of a second. Correct. But these wider aperture lenses allows you to match the background. Correct. Light. So the these birds were almost in the shade, but the photos, what I was trying to match the exposure is for the background, right? So in order to do that, I took some initially some TTLs only with the flowers, and then I put it in manual and put it -2. So so the only editing that you see here, so one of the you see the editing, I took something. Actually, that's good. I can show the image. If I take this one out, the edit. Oh, sorry, I'm trying to do it on the video. I need to go here to do it. So the edit that I did, I took this branch here out. Didn't like it, and then I took one of the reflection from the two flashes that I was using. So Nancy was asking the other day about uh, the Profoto system. Now, for this one, in order to work at a high speed and also that I can take multiple exposures, the actual flashes were only like 2 feet away from the flowers. Okay, so I'm and about minimum focal distance, which is 4.5 meters, 12 feet away. But the flashes are very close to where the flowers and the hummingbirds are. So anyway, it's a little bit of more technical type of photo for the hour because so that's where there is advantage to the F4 on the 2.8, correct? But for me, for this type of photography, the 400 is a little bit is a little bit too short. But you also have one extra stop of light, correct? So these other photos actually here, that's taken using trying to do the same, but this is with the again with the TC, correct? So that's what that extra stop allows you to so I'm experimenting with this one, trying to. I think for this type of photography, it's actually not so much what you're going to expose on the basically the foreground, which is the hummingbird and the flower, but you the high speed thing you're trying to expose for the background, right? So I will put up a little presentation, but I thought it was worthwhile since I did that today. You can see still editing this photo, correct? So I was in the process of editing some of the photos from today's shoot. Okay. but and I didn't have any. All the males are already gone, so I'm at the far end of the migration. eh? But it's a different type of hummingbird flash photography that you can do. Sometimes we use the flashes.
Keeping yourself in trouble.
Exactly.
No, they look great. They look great.
So Gustavo, how far did you have to travel to get these shots?
Oh,
20
to,
feet from his house.
to my deck, to the front of my house in my deck.
Yeah.
This is when I'm taking. This is when I'm taking breakfast and having my morning coffee. Actually, when I photographing them outside, I actually try to be early in the morning. But in this location, I needed to wait until the sun is illuminated the background. So this was like between 8 and 9 a.m.
So that you shot these from your hide.
Na-
No,
nature,
no,
yeah, nature comes to Gustavo. Gustavo doesn't have to go to nature.
no.
Oh,
This was
I was. That's why I said he did it from his hide, which happens to be his house.
house,
no,
yes.
no, no. This was not for a hummingbirds. That's the beauty, and Eva knows that. I don't think Eva is here today, correct? But he, if you feed them and you habituate them, I mean, they actually come to you and explore you and see you bring in some food, correct? If the food is the feeders are not a little bit old, they start flying around, and so you change the water in the feeders.
So
So
you got a series of questions about the flash. What brand? What was your flash speed sync? How did the hummingbirds react to the flash? Stuff like that.
yeah. All right. So let me stop sharing here so I can. So the on the high speed sync, correct? One of the problem is that you cannot do high speed sync higher than 1/8,000 of a second with the C9 or the C8. Okay, so um, uh, for this case, I use the 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 two Pro photos. So this one here, which is the 810,
So you had two 810, two 810s,
two 810s,
two 810s, pro photo.
only like a meter away from the. Now the as Roy will tell you, and I learned some of that for listening to Roy and all the experimentation. And I will put a little presentation. The the flash duration is very, and the flash power is very small, right? So they tend to not to react too much to the flash because it's not a big flash. It's actually almost nothing because you're very close.
Probably like using like 1/8 power or something crazy like that.
Exactly. Although in the Profoto system, correct, is based on these 10 integer numbers.
Like 1 to
So
10, right? 1 to 10.
1 to 10, and these
You were
were
probably
taken
at like 2, maybe.
3.5, 4.5, because I take the TTL, so I take the TTL reading, and then I take two numbers down, right? So a very little power. And although I know there is a lot of issue with flash photography, in reality, depends how much you do it, correct? I had to wait until they're in front of the flowers that I want to photograph, correct? So it's not that much. Remember the hummingbirds in particular that come from the tropics. It's like a lightning, correct? Lightning doesn't bother them, and this is very little power.
Yeah.
I don't see them reacting even to the. I don't see them even reacting to the flash. They don't go away. They keep feeding, right? Yeah, exactly. So high speed sync, it's little pulses of light, correct? So I found myself sometimes, Roy, because I wanted to use a strong, well lit background so that I can go high speed, correct? Because with Hummingbird, for me, I wanted to freeze a lot of the action, and I know on the wings, and to freeze the action on the wing, I needed to be about 3,200. Actually, the closest to when I shoot them outside with natural light, I try to go all the way to 8,000, right, or more. But with HyperSync, I cannot do it. So I was just there between, in this case, if 200 and 1 over 250 to 1 over 2,500, correct? But I was moving my dial, which in this case is changing the exposure a little bit, correct? After I set the manuals reading. So
You
anyway,
should be setting the shutter to the background, not for the flash, because the flash is going to
exactly.
be the same.
Exactly. And if I do a little presentation, we show because the Nikon cameras is different, correct? You have to go on the setting, send some modifications, or not the default from the factory. You have to change something in how do you want to react, background versus foreground, correct? But it's relatively easy, except that you have to be every now and then you have to take another test shot if your background is changing illumination, correct? If I move from one flower to another and the background was different, then I needed to do some changing. And if I following the hummingbirds and it's changing, then I had to change a little bit the compensate the illumination in the background, correct? But it's a technical challenge.
Yeah, I
Correct?
forget the wording they use. You have to decide whether you want to have an emphasis on the background or the foreground, and if you set your exposure for your background and you get that where you want, then you just set things up on your flash accordingly, and then you maybe dial it down a little bit because you're only using it for fill flash, and then that's how you would do it even if you were doing like a portrait of somebody on a beach. Be the same thing. If you want, you expose for the background first, and then set up your flash, and then dial down the power on the flash till you get the result that you want.
Yeah, and you can see I put the little diffusers, correct? That these say 10 come with these little diffusers. Oh, sorry. So I put the diffuser because I was so close, just to diffuse a little bit. Now, in my case, Roy, I cannot use an umbrella or anything because obviously that will be an impediment for me taking the photo. So these little diffusers work well for what I was trying to do. Right? So anyway,
generally, I wouldn't use high-speed sync. I'd just use a normal under 250 sync, but I'd expose for the background, then just let the flash do the exposure.
yeah, I haven't done that, Roy. So again, while these are around, I do some experimenting. I may do that.
There's also a thing called hypersync, where it gives one huge flash instead of lots of little ones, but it doesn't freeze the motion.
Exactly. No, I know the people. So in hummingbird photography, there are 3 ways to do it: natural light, which I obviously use. They also use a lot of hummingbird photography because they want to freeze with a flash. Correct? They have an artificial background. That's a technique that was used quite a lot in nature photography. Then you basically put a flash for the artificial background, and then a flash to freeze the bird. Okay? So I found that I experimented a little bit with that one. It's super cumbersome. Okay? So that's what I ended doing. This kind of, which is with this new camera, you can do it, right? And which is taking natural, not an artificial background, but a real background, exposing for the background, and then using high-speed sync to get the motion. Because I was afraid with the hummingbirds, Roy, if I try to freeze them without an artificial background, correct, that another kitty.
I bought this cat.
What's the name, Roy?
What's the cat's name?
Kitty cat, I think.
Kitty cat.
Her daughter brings home stray cats, dogs, and boyfriends.
So Nancy's asking, this is what we were talking about. You expose for background or foreground, and I'm assuming it's foreground.
I expose for the background.
Yes.
And then I
Background.
illuminate the foreground with the flashes.
The flash does the exposure for the foreground.
Right. The
Exactly.
flash is doing the exposure for the foreground, but your setting up you're obtaining the right exposure to get the background to look right first, and then you're
Exactly.
setting
Yes.
up the flash.
Exactly. I explain it, and I choose the setup because it's I mean these plants, when this time of the year, actually I buy these plants and keep them in a pot so I can move them around, correct? So it's a technical type of shoot. It's almost like a product photography, Roy.
It
Yeah,
is.
you're always, even like I said, with doing people, you want to have the background, because you may even want the background to be a little darker,
I do.
depending on how it is, or you may want to match the two the same, but you get the background, take a test shot, get the settings, get the background the way you want it, and then you say, okay, now I'm gonna turn on my flash and I'm gonna set it up to the shutter speed that I have, and so on and so forth, and use it in manual mode and adjust the power output and until I get what I want.
Exactly. That doesn't look that flashy, correct? If I take this photo in TTL, full TTL, it looks to me not so
Washed
good.
out.
It looks a little bit overdone with the flash. So this is like two stop down, right, from the TTL measurement, which is 2 units in the
And the flash
performance.
sharpens everything up nicely.
Yeah, but it's it's another type of wildlife photography, correct? It's more technical. And I put a presentation, Nancy, because I also bought a book, couple of that I mentioned to Eva before, which on nature photography with flash, correct? And which is very good. I put out, I said, the camera, but so that's what I have been doing. Correct.
I think we got somebody trying to come in. Maybe, I don't know. I heard a sound. No, okay, my imagination. I heard a little that I normally hear when somebody's in the background here. The Let me see where I want to go to. So I mean, going beyond Nikon now and doing a little Sony rumor stuff. For those that are shoot Sony, they still have up to $500 off their cameras and lenses. So if you're interested in expanding your Sony lineup in your kit, now may be the right time for you to investigate your options, since they have a good sale going on. And they have this thing called a creators app, I guess, that's tied in with the Sony cameras, and so this is all coming from Sony Alpha Rumors. So okay, just so you know the source, this is Sony Alpha Rumors. They're saying latest creators app is teasing a new firmware update for the A1, the A9 III, the A7 IV, and the ZVE1 coming in and after October of this year. So you can go to Sony Alpha Rumors to get some specifics on what these upgrades are for. Most of them are bug fixes, but there are a few new features as well. The Sony A7R5, the FX3, and the FX30 just got a major firmware update. And for specifics, once again, go to their website. A new Sony A7 V, boy, they're confusing, A7R4 and then an A7 V, and oh my God, it drives you nuts. But anyway, Sony A7 V is expected to be launched in the first quarter of 2025. And the only comments they got is that it's going to have an increase in speed and AI functionality. They're not anticipating a global shutter or 8K video in that camera right now. And there are reports of production bottlenecks in the entire industry, which has also been confirmed by Canon Japan. This is why products have been delayed. It is anticipated in the next 6 to 7 months, the following products will be announced. a Sony FX9 successor, a Sony 24-70 f2.0, the aforementioned A7 V, the A1 version 2, A1 2, and one more lens, and they're saying specs on that lens are unknown at this time. But both Sony and Canon are basically having delays on introduction of products due to production bottlenecks, aka in some cases part shortages. The Sony Alpha website has pictures of the upcoming 14 millimeter f3.5 APS-C pancake lens coming out from TT Artisans. So if you want to see what that pancake lens looks like, they have decent pictures of it on the Sony Alpha Rumors website. Sony Rumors had an article dated September 10th talking about Canon confirming delivery delays on gear due to the impact of global parts supply, and specifically mentioning the new EOS R5 Mark II, which will take a long time to ship. That's how they worded it. It will take a long time to ship. And obviously this announcement is tied in with the Japanese market. They said this announcement's tied in with the Japanese market, and it's unsure how this is going to affect the overseas market. So they're referencing right now the effect on the Japanese market. It's unknown how much it is going to affect everybody else. Peak Design, who I like Peak Design products. I have a few of them. They've launched their first, what they call first adventure outdoor backpack and sling lineup on a Kickstarter program. They've already raised over $1.5 million to support the making these product lines. If you choose to back the project, you can get 25% off what the MSRP is going to be when it comes out on the market. So there is a YouTube video on the Sony Alpha Rumors website where you could get a preview of what this gear looks like. So you could go to their website and get that. Nancy, you're taking off. Have a good one. Thank you for stopping in. I just noticed that people were saying goodnight to you. Hubby getting a kidney stone. Been there, done that. No fun. Fuji Rumors, wasn't too much there. Viltrox, they just said Viltrox has released firmware updates for a few X-mount lenses. And this was an interesting commentary for them to make on their website. They said, but before I share the details, let me say this to Viltrox, who hopefully will read this, but probably not. And he says, Dear Viltrox, your new firmware download page is a joke. It was already bad before, but you were able to make it even worse. Congratulations. Oh my God, I couldn't stop laughing. I said, I got to write this one down. But the firmware upgrades they're talking about are for the Viltrox 56 millimeter f1.7, which is going to be version 1.02, and their 85 millimeter f1.8 version 2 of that lens, and the firmware version will be 1.10. And so the last rumor grouping here is Canon rumors. Canon's been very busy lately. They're really I mean, they've got the 60% plus of the market. It's funny, they were complaining, right? Everybody's saying, oh, Canon's having all these problems, blah blah blah. And yeah, every company has problems, comes and goes, right? 1 month things are good, 1 month, oh, dying on the vine, it's the end of the world, but they got like over 60% market share, so they got nothing to complain about. I guess they want 100. They want 100
to the Z8 though.
Yeah. but it came out with a new 28 to 70 millimeter f2.8 image stabilized STM lens that just got announced at an estimated cost of $1,099, scheduled to ship this month. Now that lens features what they call, this is their verbiage from Canon Rumors: convenient mid-range zoom with a fixed f2.8 aperture through the entire zoom range. Coordinated control using IBIS plus the optical image stabilization provides image stabilization effect in the center of your viewfinder of 7.5 stops, and the corners are 7 stops. Impressive durability and weather-resistant construction equivalent to an L series lens for use in harsh environments. Incredible quality from edge to edge due to 2 UD elements to minimize chromatic aberrations and 2 spherical lenses. Incredible minimal focus breathing when recording video. Lead screw type STM for fast and quiet autofocus for stills and video. Light and compact everyday carry lens. Newly designed image stabilization unit allows for lighter and smaller lens build. And optical image stabilization is automatically enabled for cameras without IBIS for effective 5.5 stops of correction. So that sounds like a pretty darn good lens. f2.8 through the whole zoom range. That's pretty good. I think people will be happy, and the price points are decent, $1,099. Now they also, the rumor channel said someone has their hands on the rumored RF 200 to 500 f4L IS USM lens that has been tipped off to be announced in November of 2024. The thought is that it won't be shipping quickly after the announcement date, and it is not believed to have a built-in teleconverter. The RF 70 to 200 millimeter f2.8 LIS USM-Z is also slated to be announced in November with a quick shipping time ahead of the EOS R1, because that's about the time that the EOS R1 is supposed to come out. And with the so it's going to be coming out November ahead of the EOS R1, and with the RF 20 to 800 f6.3 to 9 is now off the Canon delayed list. He says, we think production may be somewhat back on track. He says, as for the RF 24 millimeter f1.4 L VCM and 1.4 L and RF 1.4 VCM, they are supposedly still tipped to be announced later this month. And of course, the Cinema EOS C80 was recently announced with a native RF mount and a 6K full frame BSI stacked CMOS sensor and 4K oversampled 6K. So I'll go over the features of that, because for some people that want a true cinema camera, obviously, you could get a Nikon /Red, or you look at something that's a little more affordable. I think I put the price in. I hope I did. Maybe I didn't. Let's see if I did. Yeah. So the price for the EOS C80 is $54.99. So for $54.99, let's see. What do you get for $54.99? You have recording formats of 6K 30 Canon Cinema Raw, Light LT, and cropped S Super 35 up to 4K 30 in Raw ST and 4K 60 in Raw LT. Oversampled 4K 120 or 2K 180 with maximized detail is available, all with 4.2.2 10-bit color. Slow and fast motion capture at rates up to UHD 4K 120 using HEVC and AVC codes. Edit easier with XF-AVC-S and XF HEVCS codecs featuring an easier naming system and folder structure as well as metadata preservation within the PL to RF lens mount adapter is available to allow use of PL mount cinema style lenses. Dual pixel CMOS autofocus uses each pixel on approximately 100% of the CMOS sensor for focus detection and image information. The back illuminated stacked sensors, excellent light capture widens the sensor area, which can be used for autofocus. The camera also offers the EOS ITR AFX autofocus function. I don't know what half this stuff is because I'm not a Canon user or a cinema user. You guys may know. Has an algorithm developed using deep learning technology to detect the human form. I guess you can't film aliens. Compact design with a tilting LCD. Built-in ergonomic grip and a joystick control, multi-accessory hot shoe on the top, comes with a detachable handle and a mic holder. The LCD screen features a reinforced hinge and built-in controls like focus peaking, waveforms, and more. Built-in ND filters. And designed for the EOS C80 RF mount short flange distance, a thin motorized ND filter unit enables user to quickly select up to 10 stops of ND.
Wow.
That's cool.
And those are physical
ND filter. ND button controls on the right side of the camera enable operators to quickly adjust exposure while maintaining their shot's depth of field. Multiple interfaces, including 12G-SDI, video outputs, full-size HDMI, and a 12G-SDI BNC output that can be used simultaneously for feeding an onboard monitor, video transmitter, or a electronic viewfinder. Use the USB-C port for UVC video output or to connect to a smartphone or the Canon GP-E2 GPS receiver. BNC connector enables users to input and output time codes, making syncing on multi-camera shoots easier. Mini XLR audio inputs. 4-channel audio using dual mini XLR ports, internal stereo mic, and a 3.5mm mic input. Log 2/3 and 3D LUT support. And it says for greater post-production flexibility, the camera offers Canon's Log 2 and Log 3 gamma modes, which provide an expanded dynamic range with excellent tonal reproduction for highlights and in low light areas of your images. It also supports 3D LUTs, so you can get the most accurate color reproduction on both the LCD and your external viewing monitors. Dual SD card slots, multiple recording options, and this is something, I think somebody was complaining. Robert Silver was complaining he wants to see this in Nikon cameras. He wants the ability, and this camera does it with dual SD card slots, can do simultaneous relay and proxy video recording, so you can record on 2 memory cards at the same time. And Robert came out with kind of like a little hit list of things he'd like to see better on the Z6 III, and realistically, a lot of what he was asking for is really beyond would add a lot of cost to that camera, and some of what he asked for is in a Z8, so it's like maybe he should have got a Z8 instead of a Z6 III, but Nikon does not have any cameras that can record video on both card slots at the same time, and I don't know. Not experienced enough in that cinema universe, to know how critical that is to users at our level. But I can understand him saying, why can't you do that? It has Ethernet and Wi-Fi control. And you can get third-party cages to add a V-mount or a gold mount battery plate to enable longer run times. And, a few more little bit things I'll skip over just so I'm not going on and on for an hour here. But basically, it seems to be a very, very impressive cinema camera for $5,499. It's going to be available in November of this year. And the price is an estimated price, retail price of $54.99. So there's another option for some people. And choices are good. But once again, that is strictly a cinema camera. It is not a hybrid. So pick your poison. Decide what you want to go with. And everybody, like I said, whatever smokes your shorts. That's another saying from us old folks. Whatever smokes your shorts.
So, David, that comment that you made there about the 51 megapixels in the sensor versus 46, is that because they had to leave some space for the iris to move the sensor?
That's what I understand.
Okay.
Yeah. And Richie, he mentioned this a long time ago. That
Okay.
the sensors are actually quite a bit bigger than what we get to use. Well, actually, we get to use the whole thing, but because IBIS, they only use the center portion.
Okay. And that
Ibis
data.
has to have the room to move.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, Randall, David is talking about Richie from Nikon. Yes.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. I wish I had his camera budget.
Yes.
He gets given them.
That's interesting. So they had to. So the actual sensor is had to be bigger than.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in the
The
Sony,
Ibis can move about.
When you look at the Nikon specs, it'll tell you how many megapixels the sensor is, and then it'll say underneath it, it'll say effective megapixels, which will be the lower number.
so
like
those
I said, other brands don't do that.
okay.
No, they don't. They just give you the bigger number.
They give you the bigger number. So, a 61 megapixel Sony sensor isn't necessarily an effective 61 megapixels.
You think so?
But it
Oh, yeah.
sounds good.
But
Yeah.
but that's easy to. I mean,
Well, it isn't easy. Well, you'll figure it out when you use the highest resolution you can, and you get your file size. You can calculate it out and see what it is.
because when you open in, I think in Photoshop, it tells you the number of pixels,
Yeah,
correct?
yeah.
I mean,
Right.
if you don't make a crop, but you take the initial crop, it tells you it's that many pixels by that many pixels,
Right.
correct?
But they
Easy
don't
to
put
work
it in
out.
they don't put it in their specs. Nikon puts it in their specs.
Well, thank you, David.
So right off the top what's getting what you're actually using when they come up with their file sizes.
See, this is more UFI for us. Yeah. But anyway, I'm going to call it tonight, Jeff.
Okay.
Too many late nights, early mornings.
Yeah, well, you've been living out there, man. 3 a.m. 3 a.m.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, it's I made a mistake this morning. It's when I went to go to the can, I checked the aurora and then I looked outside, and then I went outside to sunrise. Yeah. But
All
anyway,
right, David, take care, brother. Take care.
yeah, have a good night.
Well, thanks for coming on and thanks for letting me share some of your images and your video.
Oh, that was no problem. Next time we'll have to figure out how to make it bigger.
How to make it bigger. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.
Sounds good.
So I'm trying to check. So you know this gentleman here, correct? Dwayne Patton.
Yes.
Exactly. So put it on. I mean, it's interesting there. I mean, people that don't know his channel, he's a Canon shooter, excellent wildlife photographer, correct, in Australia. He made a good video now that he has used the Canon R5 II Mark II, correct?
Yeah.
And what he finding, correct? It's like in all these cameras, there is compromises, correct?
Every camera has compromises.
Exactly,
Now, this was
exactly.
the gentleman. Now that you mentioned his name and you got him up here, this was the gentleman at one time. It blew me away. He did a review, I think, at the time when the A1 came out, and the A1 is ergonomically better than a lot of the other Sony cameras, but it's still not the best in terms of ergonomics, and especially when it comes to the distance between your fingers when you wrap them around the grip, between your fingers and the barrel of the lens, depending on the lens you mount. And so I don't know. I got a little bit. I'll be polite. I'll say I got a little bit confused about the thing where I think it was pretty much. I think it was the A1, and he said,
Yes.
"Well, it pinches my fingers. It's not overly comfortable, but I'm going to buy it anyway because I like what the camera can do." And I would totally, I just shook my head and I says, I would never buy a camera. It doesn't feel good in my hand.
Exactly.
I don't care how good the thing is. If it's pinching my fingers, and everybody's hand size is different. So I mean, I know a lot of female photographers that shoot Sony because their fingers aren't, fat like a guy's fingers are. And they don't have that issue. Okay. And they like the lighter cameras most of the time anyway, and the smaller camera bodies. And so a lot of females that shoot Sony and it's comfortable in their hand, but for me it's not. But it amazed me that he after kind of complaining about it in his review said, I'm still going to buy one.
Well, remember he's like in the business like Steve Perry or Jan Wagoner, which is basically they are great wildlife photographers, but they are also in the business of YouTube, right? So they had to have all the different brands so that they can make proper comparison. And Steve, this guy Dwayne, I mean, they make fair comparisons. They are not, I mean, they are, in the case of Dwayne, it's a primary a Canon shooter, but I think it's fair. And you can see he comes with some criticism. But the point that I wanted to make is that, and in this last video that he just published, where after he has used the camera, he's surprised that in certain aspect the R5 Mark One is better, okay? Because in order to compensate for another thing, they have to make some compromises, correct? But it's certainly with this generation of sensors that technology is allowing, there is compromises, correct? You want to minimize the rolling shutter like in the C6 or in the R5, well, you're going to lose on dynamic range. So
Right.
there is some interesting charts in that he published in this video, right? About dynamic range and
Be frames per second and how it affects your dynamic range.
exactly.
I mean, but the thing is, the hit for I would argue not for 99% of the people, the hit is so small, you shouldn't be worrying about it, and everybody was worried.
Exactly.
So
But it's good to know.
Like I said, if dynamic range is the only thing you care about, then you're not shooting 35 millimeter camera anyway. You're gonna get medium format.
Yeah. And he's happy with the R5 Mark II, very happy. But that doesn't mean that he doesn't recognize there are some issues, correct?
No, his review was fine because he did point
Yeah.
out something that I totally agreed with, because I've held the A1, I've held Sony cameras, and
Exactly.
I agreed with what he stated. I was just confounded by the fact that he said he still was going to go buy one, even though he said it wasn't comfortable.
Exactly.
So that's where I always say, and that's where I get frustrated by the fact and that we have so little in some parts of the country. We have little to no camera stores to go to, and you're buying everything based on
Exactly.
what you're reading. You can't actually hold the camera first, and luckily you got some pretty good return policies from a lot of the bigger places. So if you get the camera doesn't feel right, you can send it back and try another one or whatever. But most of us don't want to do that. Most of us, when we buy something, we want to feel that we know it's going to be right for us, and we get it, and we can just hit the road running and set it up quick and go out there and start using it and not worry about ergonomics. But it's just frustrating that you just don't have the access to a lot of the brands unless you live next to B&H Photo, or you live up near Paul's Photo in California, or you live next to Sammy's Camera, or whichever the one is in Texas near a bigger one that down there where Randall is, or it's just frustrating because it's just like buying it's like would you buy a car without a test drive?
Exactly.
Right. And then too many of us end up buying camera gear without a test drive because I have to buy out of state. I mean, only place I have to buy camera gear, and they have very little of it, and predominantly it's Sony, is Best Buy.
Exactly.
That's all I have.
Exactly.
So
But Jeff, I mean apart from recommending Dwayne as a wildlife photographer and a fair reviewer of product, it's just this self-flagellation that we do because my camera has a reduced dynamic range, or what? I mean, come on. I mean, there is no perfect camera. There is no perfect sensor. We just go through an evolution of technology. Now, these cameras are great as they are. Can they be better in the future? For sure. But these when they make the cameras, you can see from the R5 Mark 1 to the Mark 5 R2, they had to make compromises, correct? They had to say, well, people is being bothered by the rolling shutter effect. So they brought a sensor that
faster.
That read faster, but it came with some with some compromises, okay? And that's the point that I'm trying to make. So that
it's just like with the camera has pre-capture.
Exactly.
A lot of people are very happy about that, which is and of course their pre-capture, I believe, is RAW, not JPEG. It's RAW.
And it's fantastic. When
but even with that, there's a hiccup because you can't. It's a set period of time. You can't change it.
Yes.
So there again, you say, oh, that's good. You have it. It's RAW. Even a Nikon guy, I'm saying, oh, that's great. You got it in RAW. We want it in RAW.
Of course.
But then, okay, it's like a set 1 second or 1 second time frame, I believe, if I remember right, or something. And people are saying, I don't want 30 shots. If I'm shooting 30 frames a second, I don't want 30 shots of pre-capture. I might only want 10 shots of pre-capture. I want to be able to put in a smaller interval. Well, okay, flip side on Nikon, you can adjust the interval to a much smaller time increment, but it's a JPEG file. It's not RAW.
Yes.
So, but like I was saying, even something good, it's good with a little with a caveat. It has a little baggage to go along with it. That some people did complain about. They go, I don't want 1 second. I want to be able to make now, but they could fix that easily with a firmware update, and hopefully they'll listen to their audience, and they'll do a firmware update, and they'll give them multiple choice of what they can set it to.
By the way, this guy who does kind of similar things that we does, correct? And Jane Wagoner as well. They love it, correct? They criticize it the way you criticize them, but both of them say, we're using it all the time, correct? So that tells you that it was the right uh, technology that were brought forward, but the implementation it has some room for improvement.
Yeah, you could complain about that, but okay, versus not having anything, I'll take the 1 second with the raw any day.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
and I do not, and that's a very frustrating thing for me, is I do not understand, with the processing power you have with the Speed 7 chip in the camera,
Why?
why you cannot do pre-capture RAW. I don't understand why you can't.
Yes.
I have a hard time believing that the processor chip in the Canon is faster than the Speed 7.
Exactly.
I mean, I don't know why they're not doing it.
Yes. I think they probably, particularly,
You know, unless they're playing a game where when they come out with a Z9 II,
that's right.
they're gonna then do it.
That's what I suspect now.
People want to buy the Z9 II because, oh, I could do pre-capture and RAW now. I want the Z9 II. Give them a reason to buy the Z9 II. Right? I don't know technology-wise why it obviously can be done, because Canon's doing it. Don't say that you can't do it.
Yeah, the comment from Mossman is the appropriate one. That's the point that I was trying to make, correct? That it's just this this issue. I mean, people are more trying to fulfill some sort of desire for things rather than taking photos, correct? Which is actually, Kevin is just joining in. That's the point that Kevin make regularly.
Well, yeah, if everybody that is being a critic spent the time that they're criticizing and went out and shot instead, they'd be a much better photographer.
Exactly.
Well, you guys have anything? If you guys don't have anything more that we want to really cover, I mean, we're trying to do our 3-hour shows now, unless we have a lot of stuff to talk about, and I've kind of run out. I mean, I could go on for another 2 hours if I wanted to, but I'd rather not.
I think we did what we needed to do for today.
I think Tamron are going to release a Nikon 8514. That looks next.
That'll be next, the 8514. So you'll have the
Nikon 35mm.
Yeah. Well, you know, even that, you know, what do you think the price point's going to be of that 3512? What do you think that's going to sell for? Or don't you want? Plenty, right?
Expensive.
And realistically, is it worth it? Is it worth it? I don't know. You know, David had a lot of. David said he got wonderful shots with the 20mm f1.8.
Love that lens.
That he got great shots with that. But you know, when he, with the way, well, we saw it tonight with the pictures that he was nice enough to send to me or give me the link so I could do it. With everything moving the way it was all around him in the sky, I can understand why he said, he even said, "Oh, I wish I had my 8-15 lens," or, you know, if he could have had a rectangular lens that was, 8mm, he'd be happy, when he had a sky like that. But
trouble with the 8-15 is it's circular 8 and rectilinear at 16.
Yeah.
So it's not as usable as you'd think.
Right.
So Jeff, I think it's a good time to remind everybody for the next photo review as we wind down here.
Yeah. The next photo review, everybody, is on October 5th. So send your images in to me before noon Eastern time on October 4th. And I don't get too hung up on the image size anymore. I mean, if you can get away with the 2048 on the long side, that's okay. If you want to send me something bigger, that's okay. I got
That's
enough.
okay. I'll get the medium format out.
I got enough room on my computer to handle it, and I don't keep your images, so it's only sitting there for typically 24 hours after the show is over. Everything that I got has been deleted and scrubbed out of my computer. So, and yeah, and that's just the way it is. I do not steal anybody's work.
Just a point to Randall. I think the new Tamron Nikon 1.4 is going to be better than the old F-mount 1.4. The old F-mount one was a bit soft, wide open. Their actual 1.8 was far superior then.
Yeah, I think, I mean, of course, part of this was the marketing spiel, but I remember when the 85 1.8 came out, Jerry Gionis and they had a video of Joe McNally and Jerry Gionis taking pictures of each other with that 85 1.8 lens and both talking about it. And of course, they're ambassadors, so you got to say, okay, how much of it is, but to the way they were presenting it, they were both extremely happy with the 1.8 lens. And I think for most people, the 1.8 lens is probably
Depends on what you want to use it for. If you need those really soft backgrounds, then the
We
edges
heard it
don't
tonight
matter.
from Chuck.
1.2 is better. Or 1.4.
So yeah, I mean, if you want to have the feel of the older lenses in the F mount series, then you're gonna buy these 1.4 lenses, and that's fine because choice. It's good that you have a choice, because right now a lot of people are buying third-party glass because most of the third-party glass is soft wide open. It's softer around the edges, wide open, and then maybe one stop down or 1.5 stops down, then it's sharp edge to edge. But a lot of the third-party glass behaves similar to the F-mount glass, or even the lens before F-mount. The non even the lenses from the 60s all behave that way too. So
before the Z, all wide open lenses were soft.
Yeah.
And many third-party lenses still soft wide open. But it doesn't matter. You use what you got and you know the limitations.
Yeah. Kevin, I'm glad you're having fun with your ZF. I own one of those as well, and Tim's got the ZFC, and they are very fun cameras. They really are. They really are.
My bright background's confusing the exposure.
Yeah, it surprised me because Kevin mostly do Canon, correct? Which is perfectly fine, but
the camera's fine. It's just the very bright exposure is confusing the exposure.
Oh, okay. He said that he brought one for street photography.
I haven't set this camera up to do videos. It's just been doing stills and some reproductive work. So it's not set up. I spent about 20 seconds setting it up today for this.
Good.
It's in stills mode.
Kevin, I bought it for the same reason that you're talking about, street photography, but believe it or not, I wanted to push and see how good the autofocus system was, and I put an 800. I put my 800 on the ZF, I put the 180 to 600 on the ZF. I put the 1 to 4 on the ZF, and I got good results, and it worked fine. It worked fine.
Interesting camera.
It did work very well for wildlife, believe it or not. Now, would I make it my wildlife camera? Absolutely not. But in a pinch, if my other camera broke and I didn't have an alternative, I would still be able to use it. And it's nice to know that it's capable of capturing birds, so that even if you were, in a park taking pictures of people or whatever, and then you happen to see something like some kind of a bird, you'd still be able to use it and get a picture of it. So it's nice to know that it can do it. Not that it would be what you would choose as a wildlife photographer, but it is a fun camera. It really is. It slows you down.
It should be fun. People are losing that. I think people don't realize that we're doing it for fun, not for technical expertise.
Yeah. I mean, and that's why, break out the old cameras too.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say what I ordered. I ordered another older camera today. I won't.
What was it?
I won't. You want me to say what it is? It's a crappy camera, though. It's a crappy I'll say it's not a great camera. I'm not going to tell you what I bought, but I'll just say it's a 35 millimeter camera. It came out in 1990. I won't even say the brand, and I'll just say, if you read the reviews on the internet of this camera, nobody likes it, and I bought it anyway. And you're going to say, why in the hell would I buy a camera that nobody liked?
Because it's fun.
I bought the camera because it's going to be it had minimum quantities made. It's going to be a collectible camera. It's going to be worth something as a collectible item, even though from a performance standpoint, optically, the lens is not anywhere near as good as it should have been or could have been. So your images are okay, but they're not great. But I bought it because of the collectability and the rarity versus it being a fantastic image maker. And I feel that once I get it, I will do a thanks for the memories episode, and everybody will get to find out what this mystery camera is. I'm going to leave you hanging. And we're going to call it a night because we're a little bit past our time. And I know everybody enjoys getting, believe me, getting an extra 2 hours or 2.5 hours of sleep is the difference between functioning on Sunday morning and not functioning at all. So, say goodnight to everybody. Thank you, everybody in the chat, for joining us. Sorry, Kevin, that you kind of got in here at the end of the show. Hopefully you can join us earlier next week if you're not on a shoot, of course. And hope everybody's out there, take some great pictures and have fun with your gear. As Roy says, that's what it's about, is having fun. If you don't have fun doing it, you pick the wrong hobby, right? So
we're too focused on technical skills and new cameras and new lenses, and no one's having fun anymore.
Yeah. Having let's be realistic. If you had let's throw out a number. If you had any brand of camera, doesn't matter what brand of camera, and you had 25 lenses out of that camera lineup, how many of those 25 do you use? How many of the 25 do you use? You probably
use all of them.
You probably, when you really come down to it for what you shoot, you're probably using 5 or 10% of what you bought.
Exactly.
If you buy that many, you're probably using 5 or 10% of what you bought, and the other ones are there, for the rare time you may need it, but they're not used that often. So buy the best glass that you can buy, but buy what benefits the genre that you choose to shoot. And if you got the money and you want them all, then you have them all. But realistically, if you're being honest with yourself, a lot of those are always sitting on that shelf all the time, all the time.
Should try different things as well.
Yeah. But anyway, thanks for coming on. We appreciate it. Thank everybody on the panel for coming on. Those that are here now, those that were here and left, we appreciate you spending your Saturday night with us. There are many other things that one can be doing: watching a good movie, eating a bucket of popcorn.
Bobby,
we appreciate your time. We really do. So good night, everybody.